with lots of people who like to listen live on the site. You know what I mean?
Yep. What's the hold up?
We want it to be 100% correct when it's ready to roll. We want to make sure that there's more important things than one show, and that is making sure that those people who have paid for things, that it rolls over, doesn't cancel them and, force them to have to go back in and redo that kind of crap. All right. So, Brent in the house first. Jim Carter, what's up, brother? Great program for y'all lined up today. Great program. So good, no notes. Happy Sunday, Martin. Spread the word, like and share the things, guys. Guys, I was looking forward to being up on OpsLens today, but I couldn't get a response back in time before I made any changes as to whether or not it would have brought this feed down, and I wasn't willing to let it do that. So we'll probably see us up there this week. Dustin, yeah, it works, man. David, pleasure. Brian, always. Chris Crandall, couldn't tell you. Traveling somewhere between Denver and Minneapolis, I do believe. Rick, my brother, what's up? Texas City, Texas. Now that's a great place to be, right?
Right on the Houston coast.
When you have Ms. Todd and you'll call Alan.
I think Miss Todd's calling now.
I was just gonna text her.
Cheryl, Todd on hold.
Roger that.
Alan on hold.
All right, we're good to rock and roll. You ever watch television show Schitt's Creek?
I'm familiar, but I haven't watched it.
I hadn't watched it. I got hooked on it on Netflix. I've been cracking up for the last 2 nights.
I just got caught up on Cobra Kai, so.
Cobra Kai. Minute out.
All right, we're close. Here we go. M30.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the KAHR Firearms Studio.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
It's 2021. We're in a new decade.
Freedom might be an uphill battle sometimes, but freedom will always prevail.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance. On the Leadslingers microphone. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
The one day of the week I look forward to every other day of the week. This is Armed American Radio's Monstercast. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today. On hundreds of radio stations, I have lost count across the nation. And I want to give a big welcome to listeners now in Corning, New York, Elmira, New York, Kerrville, Texas, Eagle River, Arkansas, 92.5 FM, 790 AM, Blounteville, Tennessee, 104.1 Tennessee, Blounteville, Tennessee, Columbia, Alabama, 103.3, Alatoona, PA, 98.5, Whitefish, Montana, congratulations, state number 18, constitutional carry for you. KJJR listeners, 107.9, great to have you with us today. 1050 AM, 105.5 FM, Sparta, Tennessee, in the Nashville market. 1240 AM, Level Plains, Alabama, Clarksburg, West Virginia, 1340 AM, 103.7, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Your governor's awesome. Gotta love freedom. Phoenix, Oregon, FM 99.5, Columbia, South Carolina, 100.7 FM, Albany, New York, 98.7, 1400 Clarksville, Tennessee, 105.5 Clarksville, Tennessee, and Columbia City, which is the Jacksonville area, Lake City, if you know the state. I do, WJTK FM 96.5. The growth continues, and there's more to come. A huge program lined up for you today, all of it being presented to you today by X Insurance, xinsurance.com. More about that coming up. We're going to jump right in today because the guest lineup is huge, and because I couldn't make it to Arizona. That will make sense to you in just a second. Let me first welcome, you know him as the founder and leader of the Second Amendment Foundation and a regular contributor to the program, Mr. Alan Gottlieb in Arizona today. Alan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. Sorry we couldn't have you with us.
Oh, I tried up until just 2 days ago, and one of the people that I was working with to try to make that happen was Miss Cheryl Todd, AZ Firearms, Arizona Firearms. And Cheryl, welcome to the program. God bless you for the time and effort that you put in. I want to just, if I can, take this opportunity, Cheryl, to say Arizona Central has already written it up. Second Amendment rally draws thousands of gun rights supporters to Arizona Capitol. Tell us about it because you played an instrumental role. How are you today, Cheryl?
I am awesome, and I am so excited to be here with you. And also, Alan, who it was so busy yesterday at the rally, all I basically got to do was say hi, grab a hug, and like usher him towards the stage so that he could address our awesome crowd. It was absolutely just a day of perfection. The weather was perfect. People were, I don't want to say this on your radio show because there might be children listening, but they had naked faces, a lot of them. They were just normal people out enjoying each other and enjoying a celebration of their Second Amendment rights. And about that article you mentioned, they did a lot better this year because last year we had 3,500 people in attendance, and they tried to report it as dozens. Dozens.
Well,
I mean, there are dozens in 3,500, but come on.
Come on. Listen, we're talking with Cheryl Todd. She's the host of Gun Freedom Radio and also the owner of AZ or Arizona Firearms. out in beautiful Arizona, my favorite place on earth. And, you know, we believe the media all of a sudden today, but at least they said about 3,500 to 4,000. I'm going to guess that you would probably say that might be a little low.
I would, just because it is them reporting it, and we don't have our official count yet. We usually get that from DPS, and I just right moments before we came on the air, I tried to double check again, and we don't have that official count. But I mean, we doubled our square footage, and we were just as packed with people. We had 70 vendors. We had 20-plus speakers, and, I mean, there were lines of people at the vendors and at the food trucks and, I mean, lawn chairs as far as the eye could see. So I do think that the 3,500 to 4,000, you know, it's like probably, but probably more.
Drone footage will tell the tale of the tape, just like we saw in Richmond, and I know you did wonderful work. And I will say this, through modern technology, advancements in modern technology, at least I was allowed to address the crowd, albeit briefly, but someone else who addressed the crowd and was quite popular. I know a number of people called me from Arizona yesterday and today and saying they couldn't find him even when they went to his booth. Alan, you had a lot of people looking for you, and I know you were very popular when you were there. Tell me what you felt about the rally, because, you know, as you know, and we're going to talk about it with you later into this hour, where we got the fight of a lifetime on our hands. It was good to see that out there, wasn't it?
It was really great, Mark, and Cheryl's not exaggerating when she said the area was doubled in size and the number of vendors, food trucks, you know, tents and people, you know, Second Amendment people selling all kinds of things. It was definitely double the size, and the attendance was just fantastic. You know, I was there last year and I spoke. It was definitely larger this year. It was really great to look at the crowd and see so many Second Amendment first responders. And there's no doubt that I think close to double our Second Amendment family grew for this rally here in Arizona.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the speaker list was outstanding as well, too. Cheryl, before I let you go, because I know you're busy, and I thank you for taking time to jump on the program with us tonight and give us an update. What do you attribute the growth this year to? Is it a fear of Biden and what we know is coming down the pike, what's been threatened, what we know they're talking about? Was it because there's 8 million new gun owners and Arizona has seen record numbers like every other state. Is it all this combined? What do you think? What made it so big this year?
I do believe it is a combination of, you know, the fear and concern, because our Second Amendment rights, there's no pretty way to say it. They are under assault at the state level, at the federal level, but there's also that celebration angle and that desire to protect angle that comes from people that, you know, a year ago would have never even envisioned themselves possibly being a gun owner. And now they have this tool. They understand all of the issues so much better. It's a more personalized issue now. And we saw many, I would venture to say hundreds of brand new first-time people that were, welcomed with open arms. It was such a warm and friendly festival atmosphere. And really, truly, I think that it's just the sky's the limits from here, because now that they've come once and they realize, you know, what a family they have, they're going to be back.
Well, I am hopeful because, as you know, we've had a difficult time in the pro-gun rights movement over the years. I attended the rally and spoke at it in 2010. And, you know, we couldn't get 4,000 people in Washington. I think we wound up with 1,500 to 2,000. It's always been hard for our side, the rights side, the pro-rights side, to build these things. But I think now with a political threat greater than we've ever seen it before, with a political team in office and a Congress that is not friendly to us, and all of these new gun owners, I'm hopeful that we'll begin to be able to generate these massive numbers. And I'm hopeful that what you had an instrumental role on playing in Phoenix yesterday is just evidence of that. And I will say this to those of you who are saying, how come you didn't get to Phoenix? I mean, I love Arizona as my second home. It was because I couldn't get flights back in time. I would have had to miss this show for the first time in 12 years, and I wasn't willing to tape it because we didn't have enough time, and I just didn't want that to happen, and I figured I'd bring you and Alan on. So the best of both worlds. Cheryl, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and jumping in here and for everything you did, okay?
Oh, thank you so much to you, Mark, for all that you do, and also to Alan Gottlieb for all that he does. And I want to say you were so missed. It was wonderful that we had your voice that I could play for the crowd, and it got such a response. You really resonate with people. But because we had that open space, I was able to grab a couple of brand new speakers who had never come to the podium before. So it allowed their voice to be heard, and it was really an incredible. It was a perfect day. You were missed. Please don't miss again. But we totally get it. We totally get it. You know, life happens, the weather happens. And, Antonia Okafor cover, she couldn't get out. She was snowed in, frozen in. And so we played her voice digitally as well. So, we did what we could to make sure that everyone was as represented as possible. And truly, it's just a blessing to be a part of it all. And Writers USA are our partners. They've been doing it longer than I've been tacked onto it. And so they set a great foundation, and we've just built and built and built from there.
It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The show is Gun Freedom Radio. Make sure to look up Cheryl Todd, Gun Freedom Radio. And when you're out in Arizona, AZ Firearms is the company. Thank you, Cheryl. Alan Gottlieb, when we come back, lots to talk with you about. And I'm going to surprise you with something by asking you a question. I'm going to ask you to stick around one extra segment, because the individual we're going to be talking to, we finally got him back on the show after he was cut out by his large newspaper because they don't like what he wrote about. We'll be back right after this with Alan Gottlieb. That was a fun interview, guys. That was a fun interview. That was really, really good. Cheryl's really good at what she does. I was so bummed that I couldn't get out there. It's Arizona. It's where I love to go. Are you kidding me? I got to go out there and do Tombstone while I'm out there. Last time I was out was with Kurt Schilling. We were there back-to-back in campaign events in July, and then went back again in October, just a couple weeks before the anniversary of the gunfight at the KAHR. But yeah, to miss an opportunity to go to Arizona, are you kidding me? That's like a no-brainer. But I tell you what, I was not willing to miss this show. I couldn't do it. Greg, the rally was only 5 hours long on Saturday at the Capitol, bro.
Nothing today?
No, it was just a 4-hour deal. It went from 10, I think it went from 10 to 2 or 10 to 3. Because you got to get permits out there on the Capitol grounds, which was great, but not enough time for me to set up and get interviews and then take a chance. I was unable to broadcast because of COVID from 980 The Patriot out there in Phoenix.
That's a lot of pre-planning in order to get in there and get out and get back in time.
Yeah, and I wasn't willing to take that chance. And this my claim to fame is never having missed a Sunday show, and I don't want to do that. So it cost me a trip to Arizona.
Just think you could be doing the show 3 hours earlier tonight.
Well, yeah, if I could have gotten, because I've broadcasted from the Patriot before. Why is that? Are you able to hear that?
Hear what?
Okay, so you didn't hear that notification come in?
Nuh-uh.
All right, that's not coming over the airwaves then. I can't figure out how to stop them. It's crazy.
Is it a laptop?
No, I'm on the 2 Giant Max. Oh, viewers, by the way, the Armed American Radio, I'm sure you probably are aware. I had hoped to have the website up today and launched, but not possible. We want it to be at least 95% perfect when we launch it, and we were unable to commit to that as some issues are still migrating over. So we're hopeful to have the website up hopefully tomorrow. Oh, you guys did hear. They did hear the alert. How much time do we have? Well, you get the raw feed, guys. That's pretty cool.
We're close. Texas Roadhouse hit it out the park again tonight.
They always do.
I'm telling you. All right.
What'd you have?
16-ounce sirloin, 30. Baked potato. Yeah, I like the Caesar salad.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sebastian Gorka, letting you know that the Desperado Sport Fishing Crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
Right on. Welcome back inside Armed American Radio's KAHR Firearms Group Studios on this extremely powerful. You heard the new affiliates, so now it's extremely powerfuler than it was before. Leadslingers microphone, and all of this being presented to you today by X Insurance. Big promotion coming up with X in the next few days, so make sure to stay tuned. But I will tell you this, that the grand prize winner, one of the things the grand prize winner will get from me is a lifetime paid for by me lifetime membership to the Second Amendment Foundation. Of course, we're talking with Alan Gottlieb. Alan, welcome back. I'm excited about that. Can't wait to give somebody that plaque, brother.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and I will do something special for the person that you award that to as well. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm going to throw something in on that as well.
We're going to keep that a surprise, but that's how the promos work. It's always fun. And I don't know what Mr. Gottlieb is. I don't want to know. So he'll keep that from me, too, and I'll keep it from you, and we'll find out when it happens. Alan, as we go into, I'm going to ask you, can you stay for me for one more segment while Lee the Gunwriter Williams joins us? Okay.
Yes.
You have, this going to be I can't wait to hear your reporting on that, your commentary on that. The Daily Wire, you were quoted extensively about expert being you, Alan Gottlieb, warning Biden has launched four-prong attack against Second Amendment and advises how to respond. Can you tell us about that before I talk to you about court cases?
Wow, yeah, it's been a busy week. I think I did Fox News, the Daily Wire, Newsmax, Wall Street Journal, Christian Science Monitor, and there's an AP story about ready to break. I thought it was going to come out today, but maybe tomorrow. We've been out there trying to alert the American people as much as possible as to what Biden has up his sleeve for us. And his four-pronged attack, basically he's coming after a universal background check that's really a universal registration system. He wants to ban so-called assault weapons, but they're now defining assault weapons as virtually any semi-automatic firearm. They want to ban magazines that hold over 10 rounds, and they're coming after us in a bunch of other ways as well. So that's what those articles were about. But we made a lot of press, and of course our Second Amendment First Responder TV campaign on national television is expanding into next week as well. And by the end of next week, we will have run 528 national TV spots, alerting the American people and getting them engaged and involved to fight back against what Biden has in store for us.
And those are running across multiple. You're talking about running in primetime on Fox, Tucker, Hannity. They're running on MSDNC, CNN, and I'm excited for the next batch. I'll tell you why later, next week. But our friend Larry King.
Well, wait, I want to jump into that for just a quick second. Because when the Second Amendment Foundation is going to be next week, after next week, we're pausing our SAF spot. But the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep Their Arms has a new spot coming out on national television that's actually voiced by Mark Walters.
Yeah.
So you'll recognize the voice when you see the spots on TV. And we're going after House Bill 127 by Sheila Jackson Lee that, among many things to it, demands that you have an $800 insurance policy before you can own a firearm, and you have to go through a government-approved psychological evaluation, and not just you, but every member of your household. So we'll be alerting the American people to that, getting them plugged in to fight back as well. And thank you, Mark, for voicing that TV spot.
I'm excited about it. I saw the final cut, and it looks outstanding, and it's going to be fun because it is running across so many. I mean, we're talking about reaching Discovery Channel, the Weather Channel, History Channel. This is running across all platforms, major platforms out there. So you'll enjoy the spot. I promise you will. And it'll be fun to hear my voice on there. All right. Larry Keene has a piece up. let's just call it, he's saying Biden's 1-2 punch to buckle the firearm industry. And I think where I'm going with this is it looks like the first punch could be the protection of lawful commerce in arms. Does this man truly want to bankrupt the firearms industry and all of its billions in contribution to this economy?
Most definitely, yes. And he supported this type of legislation way back when, 47 years ago, whatever it was, when he was a U.S. senator. I mean, he definitely thinks that the firearms industry should be responsible for monetary damages. If a criminal goes out and misuses a gun, you should be able to sue the manufacturer. Sort of like if a drunk driver, kills somebody with a Chevy, the General Motors should be able to be sued, which obviously no court in the country is allowed to happen. But he wants the firearms industry to be held responsible for the criminal misuse of a firearm, which would bankrupt them so that you and I and your listeners could never buy a gun again.
And we are seeing, in Newtown, we're seeing this eking closer and closer to reality with the courts allowing the suit against Remington. I mean, this is scary stuff, and I know we talk about it weekly, but you've got to have this driven home. Listen to the words of Larry Keene from National Shooting Sports Foundation. President Joe Biden is throwing out just a few feeler jabs in his gun control fight. He's talked of bans and repealing laws, which are certainly worthy of throwing up a guard to keep them from landing. Make no mistake, his fight plan is one of disciplined patience versus throwing haymakers. Now, take a listen to this paragraph. He's already setting up for a 1-2 combination that he believes would send the industry to the mat. He's not looking to just win the round or the fight. He's looking beyond the title. President Biden wants a knockout against the firearm industry that's so painful, there's no talk about a rematch. Now, that should wake everybody up, Alan. I don't care where you stand, that a sitting U.S. president would be literally trying to wipe out an entire industry and the billions in tax dollars and contributions for a product that is constitutionally protected. That is hard for me to wrap my head around.
Well, I agree, and I really hope that it wakes up a lot of the gun owners who may have voted for Biden and they realize what a mistake they made.
Banking is next on that, and it's just the first of 2 strikes intended to buckle the knees of the firearms industry. So literally going after the financial stability by wreaking havoc into their ability to fund their operations and the protection of lawful commerce in arms. It's a powerful read from Larry Keene, and I would highly recommend it. Now, Amy Coney Barrett, let's go here. Forbes has a great piece out, and of course, the Second Amendment Foundation wrapped up in cases across the country. Before we go into this, has there been any new action on the court front from the SAF yet?
Well, some movement in one of our cases that we filed last March of 2020 when the COVID stuff was shutting down gun stores and people getting gun licenses and permits. We sued in North Carolina there for a sheriff that was not issuing permits. And that case, we had it restrained in court, so he forced him to issue them, but we're still suing for damages. And he moved that they should be dismissed. And the judge said, no way, Jose, and using intermediate scrutiny, said that the virus and the responses for public health to it don't outweigh Second Amendment rights, and is holding him to the mat on that. And it's going to be a very big win, and we're going to see what we can get in damages for them violating people's Second Amendment rights in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That's good to know. But has anything else been filed since the cases? We've only got 30 seconds. So let me not hold you to that question. Let me just mention this as we come into Lee Williams, the gun writer, joining us. Alan, wait till you hear this story; it will make your blood boil. But Forbes article, and I want to just give you the headline: Will Amy Coney Barrett shake up the Second Amendment in her first year on the Supreme Court? And the writer of the piece believes that she's going to. And it's very, very positive. Again, give it a read. When we come back, Alan Gottlieb is going to stay with us, and we're going to talk to Lee the Gunwriter Williams, making his first appearance on this show in an awful long time because he wasn't allowed, because it would have cost him his job. And we're going to explain why, and it's going to boil your blood. Back with Lee the Gunwriter Williams right after this. You don't want to miss this. Don't go away.
Lee on hold.
Roger that. The magic of technology. I know Lee was listening. I'm going to assume that he knows that Alan is sticking with us, right? Can you let him know that real quick, just so we don't blindside him?
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, he's been watching.
Roger that. Lee sent out one of the most powerful emails I've ever seen. We're going to cover it in this next two segments.
Oops, we blew past 30.
How far are we?
We're almost back to the bed.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Gotta love Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason, our great affiliate KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker. We love you in Wichita, all of you. I think I get more email from Wichita fans than anywhere else around the country, and there's a reason for that. You guys have a great station. You're gun-loving folks. You guys get it. You have good gun laws, and you got Andy Hoosier up there. So it's great stuff. Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason. Thank you for that rejoin. Alan Gottlieb, welcome back. You know, you've met. I was able to introduce you to Lee, the gunwriter Williams, when we were at the GRPC in Tampa. Time is flying. It's been a few years ago. But Alan,
yeah, that was a great gun rights policy conference.
It sure was. It was great, and it was fun to go home. But Alan, this is going to boil your blood. I received an email from the gunwriter just a couple days ago, and I knew this was going on over the last 12 months because he and I had been talking, and I knew why he couldn't come on. I just couldn't tell anybody. Now we can talk about it. but the email he sent out is so powerful. We're going to spend some time with him on it. But here's the deal, guys, as I welcome Lee the gun writer. Lee spent more than 2 decades as a card-carrying member of the mainstream media, most of it as an investigative reporter, the last few years as a newspaper editor. He also maintained a pro-gun website, which ultimately led to his demise. Lee the gun writer Williams, the return and on the Monstercast. What happened? Tell all of us and Mr. Gottlieb what you had to put up with, my friend.
Oh, man, it is good to be back. Mr. Gottlieb, it's an honor as always, sir.
Lee, it's great to hear your voice again. It's been too long.
I know. Well, very simply, I worked for a newspaper chain called Gatehouse, and it was a great place to work. Loved it, great people, real world guys. Well, Gatehouse bought Gannett, and I'm sure everybody has heard of Gannett. And unfortunately, Gatehouse put the Gannett people in charge, and they are an uppity and humorless bunch. So once they took over, and they did take over, and they found out that one of their people was writing about guns, they went absolutely crazy. I mean, Gannett has tons of different newspapers and niche products, including they cover NFL, NBA, and they even have a magazine devoted to cage fighting. But my editors were told to investigate my social media, and I was ordered to stop all postings on social media and on the Gunwriter immediately. If I didn't comply, I would have been fired, and I needed the job for my family. Well, then recently I parted ways with Gannett because the issue came up again. They brought up, he wrote about guns, and that was bad enough. So I'm no longer there. We've got a new website that's up, and it is doing incredibly well, and I'm happy to be back.
Alan, the First Amendment, Second Amendment are so tied together. You have lawsuits involved here. When you hear something like that a major publication ownership, he was working for the Sarasota Herald Tribune, AM 930, Sarasota. You're listening right now live, one station in Florida. Alan, what do you think when you hear this, that he was literally stifled at threat of his job, lost his job?
Well, it's not the first time, Mark, I've heard a story like this from a pro-gun rights journalist. It's why most of them try to hide and pretend they don't own firearms or support our position. It is amazing how many of me, when they interviewed me, if talked about, gee, Alan, I had to ask you the questions the way I did, because I was told I had to ask them like that, but I really agree with you and support you, but I can't make that known. So I know what Lee's been under there for a while, and they really try to silence these voices. But I really love those Lee, the piece that he wrote, linked to a foundation group that tries to help silence pro-gun voices in the media. And I love the fact that they talk about that you can't be objective if you write in favor of gun rights. But as far as they're concerned, you can be totally objective if you write against gun rights. And the double standard in the media is just disgusting.
Yeah, Lee, you talk about it in your email. We're going to cover that with you in the next segment explicitly because I think it's one of the most, it is probably one of the most powerful emails I've seen, and your descriptive of the media is put in a way that I've not seen it put before, and I don't think anybody but you could have done it. So, Lee, it's kind of but I tried to get Alan, I tried to get Lee on there. I said, look, how about we disguise your voice, one of those robot voices, and we'll call you somebody else. And we just couldn't make it happen because the danger to his livelihood was so real. And Lee, I'm so glad that you're back, and thank you for coming on Armed American Radio and giving us this opportunity to bring this to people. It's a terrible story, but it's a reality of where we are today, man, as gun owners.
It's an honor to be on the show, Mark, especially on a Sunday, and I really appreciate everything that you've done, and I can't say enough about you and how you kept me going through this months and months of enforced silence when I was gagged, literally.
Enforced silence. It wasn't that long ago, Lee, that you and I broadcasted the show from the Herald Tribune building in downtown Sarasota, this very 3-hour broadcast.
And we were happy as heck to have you. It was a great time.
Put a huge full-page ad in the paper about it, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and then we put the nincompoops in charge.
Hey, Alan, let's use that in some of what we put out in media. I like that, the nincompoops in charge. Well, Lee, I got this. Some of this email is amazing. Let's start covering this while we have Alan here because we do have some time. Imagine this is from Lee's new website that went up, and if you signed up at his website, first tell us, where can people go sign up at the new Gunwriter website?
It's thegunwriter.substack. That's substack.com. The Gunwriter is one word, Substack is one word, and then .com.
Okay, but it's thegunwriter.substack.com. I'm going to make that clear. So if you do that and go over there and sign up and contribute like I did, help Lee get back on his feet after silencing him, please do it. Take a listen to what you got in your mailbox. Imagine if a lawmaker introduced an unconstitutional anti-gun bill and the media told the truth. Imagine if reporters actually did their job and held the lawmaker accountable. Imagine if they described the bill as a violation of our constitutional rights, an assault on personal liberties and individual freedoms, and not what the framers had in mind when they wrote the Second Amendment. Imagine if there were editorials calling out the lawmaker for his unconstitutional views, questioning his ethics, and demanding he or she resign. The media is supposed to be the watchdog of our elected officials, Lee, and you go into that. We're not going to get that from them, are we? We're not going to get that shake.
No, not when it comes to guns. Not at all. Not at all. Every anti-gun bill is heralded by the mainstream media.
Alan, how do they, with people like you, shows like this, there are some loud voices. Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, 26 years old. He's 26 years old on the air. He's the godfather of this genre of radio. Why are we still being silenced? What are they so afraid of?
The truth, we have facts on our side. They try to argue emotion. We get trying to be reasonable. They try to be obnoxious. And the way they're obnoxious is it's a cancel culture. They just don't want us to have First Amendment rights as well as Second Amendment rights because it upsets their agenda.
Okay, then that, Lee, and I know this, I'm setting this up almost rhetorically, but at the same time, then that means that they have to know exactly what they're doing, Lee, that there literally truly has to be an agenda, and they're not just all really nice people that think that, we should all be, have pet unicorns in our garage.
No, and the agenda is complete disarmament of the civilian populace. That is what the goal is, because guns are bad. Therefore, people with guns are bad. So we have to disarm the populace. That is the goal, Mark. It's unstated, but it's 100% true. And
Alan, the message that Lee wrote about for so many years at the Gun Writer was one of safety and training.
30.
And it is really shocking to me that this is a message that they wouldn't want to get out. Alan, thank you for being here, and thank you for sticking around an extra segment. I know you've had a great weekend going. Go get some sleep, relax, chill out, have some fun, because you're going to be going to CPAC on Thursday. Alan Gottlieb fighting the fight on behalf of all Americans at the Second Amendment Foundation. When we come back from this break, Lee the Gunwriter Williams is going to stay with us, and I want to cover some more of this email with you, Lee, because it's powerful. And it's right up my alley about hating the mainstream press as I have over the years, and you being a part of that, and now feeling the 1-2 punch from them simply because you're a gun owner and wrote about it. Unbelievable. We'll be back with Lee the Gunwriter Williams right after this. Don't go away.
Got a call from a listener saying that Grisham's show was not on the air tonight on the Maryland affiliate.
He's on nearly 300 stations. I have no idea what Maryland affiliate that would be.
Yeah, you're on the same one with him. He airs just before your show.
Would they air him on a Sunday and then butt him up against mine in Maryland?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. More than likely, it was a preemption for something.
Yeah. I don't know for sure. He didn't have a lot of details. He just said that the show wasn't on the air. And, he said he's going to call the station again tomorrow. I was like, I really don't know what the deal would be.
Yeah. Tell him, thanks for being aware.
I did. All right, I'm going to grab some water. Be right back.
No, don't do that. No. Greg, always want to get all selfish, man. Get his water and stuff.
Got to rehydrate after a weekend of drinking.
I wouldn't know. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, this is fun. The AAR studio is its third code drywall covering one up today. It will be painted tomorrow. Carpet goes in tomorrow. And I believe we'll be on air in there within days. Probably, well, by Tuesday. The painting will occur tomorrow, and I believe a little bit into Tuesday, and then the carpet will go down Tuesday. I believe we'll probably be, no doubt this show will be broadcasting from the new studio next week.
Yeah, give it a little more time. Don't rush in there too soon.
Yeah, that's why I'm not, because it'll be done technically Tuesday.
Internet and everything getting ran out there?
Already is.
Nice.
Already is. Modems out there. I got backups coming in, 3 backup pods coming in. Everything's redundant. You have to have it. 3 is 2, 2 is 1, and 1 is none in this business. You know that.
Yep.
Particularly with the connections the way they are.
All right, we're close. And 30. Nice segment already.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Defender Coffee. When you drink Defender Coffee, you're making a donation to a gun rights organization of your choice that protects and defends your freedoms. Welcome back to the show. I am drinking Defender Coffee, by the way. I'm going to pay for it. And the show is live. It is 48 after the hour on the East Coast at 8 p.m. The vast majority of you across the country are listening live to the broadcast on hundreds of radio stations. And, yeah, that's okay. I'm probably going to have another cup, too, but makes Mondays a long day. Not a whole lot of sleep on Sundays. Couldn't sleep anyway. Welcome back inside. On this Leadslingers microphone, by the way, the KAHR Firearms Group studio, every bit of it being brought to you by X Insurance. You can check them out at xinsurance.com and get yourself a quote. We got a fun new promotion coming up where I got to kind of tie it into the new website, the new launch of the new website, which we weren't able to get launched today, unfortunately, but that will happen in the coming day or two, so we'll coordinate it all together and tie it together then. Suffice to say, keep listening and keep checking back at Armed American Radio when the construction's done. You'll see a whole new look to the website and some news features and videos coming and all kinds of cool stuff. So welcome back into the studios with me. We'll tell you about sponsors and partners throughout the hour. Let's go back to the gun writer, Lee Williams, making his return appearance for the first time in an awfully long time on the Monster Show. Lee, I don't think you've been on the Monster Show since we did the program live in Sarasota. Am I mistaken about that?
No, it has been a while.
That long?
It certainly has been too long.
Well, I had fun getting you on the weekday show, but I thought, you know what? This story needs to be told. This is absolutely crazy. But here's some of what Lee wrote in this brilliant email. The media is supposed to be the watchdog of our elected officials. They're supposed to ask questions and hold them accountable. However, when it comes to anything having to do with guns, the media has completely abrogated their responsibilities. The sad part is they don't care. The media controls the narrative. They can correct bad behavior. They can force change if they want. Unfortunately, this will never happen because almost all journalists are incredibly, almost violently anti-gun. And then you go on to talk about what the media thinks. Can you go through some of this? If I ask you about the bullet points, can you expand on a little bit for us?
Absolutely.
All right, Lee says, rightfully so, that this is a type of groupthink. Because we always talk about this bias in the media. Oh, it's not. Certainly there's no conspiracy between. No, what it is defined by you definitively here. And that's groupthink. They all think the same way because they come out of the same backgrounds. So this is that groupthink. And then you had to endure it, you said, for 20 years. Number one, all gun owners are referred to as gun nuts, and all are rubes, hicks, and hillbillies. Is that what they believe?
That is exactly what they believe. I've had people use gun nuts in my presence, and I was rather displeased, to put it mildly.
Yeah, well, you're a big guy. Did you tell him to sit down and shut up?
We had words, but yeah, let's just leave it there.
Good for you. Guns are evil. All guns should be banned. No one needs a gun. They literally think that way.
They do. They honestly do. Well, you don't need one of those. You can get an alarm system or a dog or put bars on your windows. You don't need a gun. Well, yeah, you do.
I've lost count of how many times I've been interviewed by newspapers, both here in the United States, in particular overseas, with the condescension in that question. What makes you feel you need a gun? That's the way, just the condescending attitude when they ask the questions. Very true. All pro-gun lawmakers are crazy. You can vilify them at will. Anything goes. No one's going to stop them, are they?
No, and these are great people, and they suffer the most vile attacks because they're pro-gun. And I'm talking vile, brother. And you should hear what's not printed about them that's discussed in newsrooms. It's terrible.
Well, I think of somebody like Lauren Boebert. She's been in office, 6 weeks? And she's being attacked by some people on the pro-gun side. What has she done for guns? She hasn't done nothing. That's amazing to me. She's been in office 6 weeks, for God's sakes. Give it a rest. Number two, I'll tell you what she's done. She's coming into office talking about being pro-gun. She's keeping the message out there in Congress, in a vehemently anti-gun Congress. She's talking about it. She's wearing it on her sleeve. That's not good enough for you. I don't know what to do. But now they're beginning to introduce legislation. And these are the people that get attacked by the mainstream press. It's just mind-boggling. And to see some on our side attacking people like that, to me, is just shameful. All anti-gun legislation, even if it's unworkable, such as micro-stamping or smart gun technology, is necessary and should be supported.
That's true. It's true. They view even the things that haven't happened yet as a panacea. And it's, micro-stamping, come on, a fingernail file, and they're done. Or smart gun tech, give me a break. I've always said we need smart gun owners, not smart guns. Thank God we have smart gun owners.
Well, you and I talked about during the weekday show, there's been zero, absolutely zero. There's never been a crime ever solved with any micro-stim, and I love that. Even things that haven't been happening, they're championing this. The NRA and other pro-gun groups are obstructing the goal of complete civilian disarmament. They should be ridiculed and vilified. No mention should ever be made of their training, hunter education, and gun safety programs, especially Eddie Eagle, which is some of the best in the country that has taught tens of millions of children the simple message: stop, don't touch, leave the area, tell an adult. What's wrong with that message?
Nothing. It should be celebrated. It should be mandatory in every elementary school, but you don't hear about it unless you go into some rural areas where they're very happy to take this incredible it's a package. It's a package that's delivered. Everything you need, videos, books, and it's all free from NRA. And of course, it was the brainchild of Marion Hammer, former NRA president and currently Florida's NRA lobbyist. That was her idea.
And they bring in the mascot, the eagle, and they bring the eagle into classrooms.
Yeah.
And the eagle does a dance to the young kids. Stop, don't touch, leave the area, tell an adult. They do some little tune thing. And that message, there was a time in America when ABC, NBC, CBS would probably have heralded that message. There was that time in America. Maybe not in your lifetime, but there was a time in America where the National Rifle Association, I remember rifles coming to school for matches. It's just, this is all a product of what the media has done to vilify you and your culture and your lifestyle. Concealed carry, especially constitutional carry, should be criticized at every given opportunity, as should those who carry firearms.
It's the hick mentality. Well, nobody's carrying a firearm except hicks and hillbillies and gun nuts. Completely not true. But they repeat it so often, especially among themselves in their own little echo chamber, that they start to believe it. And most of them haven't even met a concealed carrier, or they have and they don't know it. They haven't met somebody who's said that they're concealed carrying.
How many people in your profession that you've known over the years that you can tell us actually carried a firearm or thought you were not nuts quietly?
I know one reporter who can.
Wow. 30.
One. Yeah.
Lee Williams, the gun writer. We're getting ready to call this half hour quits, but I got to tell you, let's go to the website again. It is thegunwriter.substack.com. Make sure to go over there and support him. Lee's been writing about you. This cost him his job because of this. I want you to try to wrap your head around that one when you get up and go to work tomorrow, or you get up and go to your kitchen and go to your computer. Lee, we've got your back. You know that. We're not leaving you. We're gonna be working together. I think you're gonna be hearing a lot of the Gun Writer on Armed American Radio, and you're gonna be seeing some collaborative stuff going on here, no doubt in the future. We're so glad to have you back, Lee, the Gun Writer Williams, back with a vengeance. Absolutely love it. Thegunwriter.substack.com. When we come back next hour, AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News, Dr. Ignatius Piazza from Frontsight. And then after that, a classic Armed American Radio Roundtable with Arms CEO Justin Moon, Leadslingers Whiskey CEO Brad Premo, and reporter extraordinaire Neil McCabe from Parts Unknown. Literally, another great 2 hours coming up on Armed American Radio's Monstercast. Don't turn the dial.
Don't turn that dial.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
Wow. That hour flew. Come on, email, where are you at? You know what? Well, you just never know, right? You just never know.
AWR first half.
Yeah, you got him up?
Yeah, I think he's calling now.
All right.
On hold.
Gotcha. Why do I hate when hot coffee goes cold, but I love cold iced coffee?
There's a difference.
I guess it's like eating an egg that got cold when it wasn't supposed to be cold. Your brain is thinking, that egg ain't supposed to be cold. That egg is supposed to be warm.
I still think there's a difference between icing coffee and coffee that's gone cold.
There is.
There's a big difference in the taste. And I enjoy iced coffee, just not none of that faggoty Starbucks stuff.
Now, the only thing I order at Starbucks now is this. I'm done with all the foo-foo drinks. Now it's a triple espresso with a little bit of cream and 1 Splenda. Iced or warm? I'll have it iced today.
You go for the whipped cream and the caramel.
No. None of that. Although I do like a whipped cream on my coffee from time to time. I do have to say that.
Better on hot chocolate.
I hadn't had a cup of hot chocolate in years. I mean, years.
Now, the coffee machine here will dispense it. It's pretty good.
How are we doing time-wise?
We're close. All right. Here we go. And 30.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the KAHR Firearms Studio.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
It's 2021. We're in a new decade.
Freedom might be an uphill battle sometimes, but freedom will always prevail.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance. On the Leadslingers microphone. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Oh, man. I tell you, the first hour, these are the fastest individual hours in all of talk radio. I can promise you that. And it's just the way it is. So buckle in, prepare to learn something and to have some fun. I promise you we'll talk about very serious issues, but we have a lot of fun in the process doing it. And here's why. Because I don't let the other side on the program, ever. Never. They're never coming on here. They're not welcome here. They're not wanted here. I don't want to hear what they have to say. I couldn't care less about it. We talk about them. We don't talk to them. They haven't earned it. They lie. They cheat their way through. Hijack the language. Every town for gun safety. You don't know the first thing about gun safety. But I digress, or I could just go on and on and on. Suffice to say, this is the fastest hour in all of talk radio, each one of these hours of Armed American Radio. So sit back and enjoy all of it being presented to you and brought to you by X Insurance. This is real insurance. This isn't fake stuff. This isn't membership plans. This isn't stuff that your lien holder, what on your automobile would look at and go, dude, you can't use that to cover this car. I got $50,000 on this thing. No, you need real insurance. It's not something your homeowners wouldn't take what your third-party stuff. This is real insurance. So if you've got real stuff that you want to protect, your businesses, your freedom, your things, your lifestyle, X Insurance has you covered. You law enforcement officer, concealed carry permit holder, X Insurance will write you an individual policy, just like they did me, that will blow the other stuff off the map. It's fancy marketing, slick stuff. Time to grow up to get real insurance. Please look at this, xinsurance.com. We've got some great promos coming up here in the next couple weeks we'll be announcing as well. All of it presented here today by X Insurance. We're on the Leadslingers microphone and, of course, KAHR. We're inside the KAHR studios with you. Let's go right to my first guest and only guest for this half hour, AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. AWR, how you doing, man? We're going to get you out of here quick. How about that?
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm doing good. Good to be with you.
Excellent. I'm sorry I missed you this weekend, man. And, you know, I out there because you were out there in Phoenix quickly. We opened up the show talking about it with Miss Todd and with Mr. Gottlieb, and you got to see everybody. How was it? You were there. Thousands were there. Wasn't it great to see?
Yeah, it was pretty good crowd. I'm bad at estimating, but I think 3,500 to 4,000 is a safe bet, and I maybe was more, not less, than that. But yeah, it was good. I was a little tardy arriving. In other words, I wasn't there for the whole thing because I'm having an issue with a health issue that I got to get handled. But for what I was there, it was excellent, and it was so good to see that many armed people in one place, and they were armed to the teeth.
Well, that's Arizona, man. That's Phoenix, and you know, I enjoy reading because the Arizona media is a little bit more. I'm not going to say friendly, but they're certainly more used to seeing that type of crowd in and around Arizona at one of these peaceful events. Is that a fair statement to make? I mean, it's Arizona, for gosh sakes, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, you don't go to the In-N-Out in Arizona without seeing a 1911 on somebody's hip.
Exactly, and some beautiful holsters. Okay, that's good to know, and thank you for being out there again. I'm sorry I missed you and Alan and everybody else, but we were there in spirit, and at least I got to say some words through modern technology. As we get going here, I want to start because I ended the previous hour with Lee the Gunwriter Williams talking about Lauren Boebert and the media and how they treat pro-gun politicians, the mainstream media, and lo and behold, as you always do, you write definitive stuff. Back on February 19th, just a couple days ago, your headline is titled, Lauren Boebert trolls Democrats in Zoom video with AR-15s in the background. She's still getting backlash for that because them Democrats just can't believe that she would do such a thing.
Right. Well, and they have no understanding. I mean, we have people who are, I won't with these when they pass these gun storage laws, which those are what they pushed in response to Boebert. How am I supposed to defend myself if my gun's locked in a safe? No, I hate to tell the world. Well, I don't hate, but I'll put a picture on Instagram. But where I type my articles, I have a Diamondback DB-15 in 300 blackout with a 30-round mag and one in the hole, sitting right there, standing up on its butt end, and it's a safety flick away from handling business if someone kicks in the door. And well, I'd be stupid to live any other way. Am I going to have the intruder pause so I can get in my safe, get my gun out, and load it? I'm not going to live like that. If you come through the door, you get what's coming.
You know, it's interesting. Two things I want to bring out about what AWR just mentioned. Two things. I think I've mentioned this before, but I like the word trolling. But I guess that's what I was doing. I've done a number of BBC television interviews in the past across the pond. And every time I do one of those interviews, before I built this studio out, you could see my AR-15 leaning on the wall behind me. And no one ever mentioned it. It never got picked up in any of the interviews. No one ever saw it. Maybe they didn't know what it was. I have no idea. Maybe they don't know across the pond. But it did get picked up here in the United States. A couple of people mentioned it. And number two, as far as Lauren Boebert being trolled, I'd like your responses. There are people on the pro-gun side saying that, they don't like her tactics, that she's just a loudmouth. She ain't done nothing. She's been in office all of 5 weeks, and she's keeping the right to bear arms in the forefront. Isn't that enough until she can start trying to move some legislation in a hateful environment in D.C.?
Well, what she has done, though, is everything she said she would do. She said, I'm going to get a concealed carry permit. She got one. She got a decent permit. And I'm like you, what else can she do at this moment other than keep the spotlight on it? And that's what's important. We need a spotlight on it. So all these new gun owners from 2020, the 8.4 million first-time gun purchasers from 2020, so that they are paying attention and calling their reps and senators going, hey, Boebert's got the right idea, protect our rights. And so I don't see her doing anything wrong at this point.
Yeah, I don't either. It's very odd to me that I see this, around there. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of uncanny. A couple things. Now, again, an AWR headline, I hate headline surfing. That's why it's impossible to surf an AWR Hawkins Breitbart News headline. Elderly veteran beats armed suspect to death to save wife. What happened here?
Well, this guy made my day. So, 82-year-old veteran in Aiken, South Carolina. He saw his wife endangered by an intruder. His wife was 79. And so the elderly man grabbed a shotgun, took the butt of it, and hit the guy in the head, and then took the barrel and commenced to beating him. And I think the guy lived long enough to go to the hospital, but that's about it. But kudos to this guy. And, didn't even fire a shot, but you hide and watch somewhere. There's a Democrat somewhere who thinks this is a good reason for gun control.
You're absolutely correct about that. The reason I wanted to go to this story after Lauren Boebert, and I kind of held on to the third thing I wanted to mention, because you and I have discussed this many, many times in the past. When stories like this happen, how close are these people to their guns? Like you said, you're a safety flick away. Well, that's you. You're AWR Hawkins for Breitbart. I'm Armed American Radio. I've got a gun on my hip right now. All right? But how many stories have you and I talked about that you've written, the happy ending stories, where the door got kicked in at 2:30 in the morning and the homeowner was able to grab their gun? Imagine being asleep at 2:30 in the morning, listener, right? And then having that instant access to your gun. We've covered this many, many times together. People cannot keep their gun locked up. It's ridiculous to even think that they would do it in their own homes. And that's part of what Boebert is bringing attention to as well. I think it's great. But AWR, Americans have guns at the ready, don't they?
Well, they have to have. I don't know how it works otherwise. I've got a KAHR 9mm on my hip right now, and I just like it on my hip as I go about my day. Even when I walk in the house, and I know used to have people tell you how crazy that was, or do you have a gun on when you're in your own yard? Sure do, because I've written too many stories about people in their own yard being attacked, people in their
30
being attacked, people in their own homes being attacked. And so you got to be ready, and especially if you have a family, you got to be prepared to protect them. And, you got to be level-headed, and you've got to know when you can shoot and when you can't and all that. And I trust gun owners to know that. I'm not talking to idiots. But if you're not prepared and that intruder is, I can tell you who's going to win.
Oh yeah. Evil gets to pick the time and choosing. That's evil. Evil gets to do that. And listen, there's other things too. You're a public figure. You're out there. It's irresponsible of you not to be able to defend yourself. I'm armed at all times, even when I'm cutting my grass, because I don't like copperheads, and they're all around the creek down in the holler at AAR Ranch. So why wouldn't I? Doesn't make any sense not to. Yeah, I'm going to keep my guns locked up for you, some Democrat politician. I don't think so. We'll be back with AWR for one more segment. Don't go away. Hey, Mark. God bless him for being here today. I know how much pain he's in right now. What else did you have over there at Roadhouse today? You had the baked potato?
Yeah, I had the baked potato and the Caesar salad. We're close. And 30.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
They really do. The Sport Fish that the Desperado does, except right now the Desperado is in West Palm because it's too cold to be in Virginia Beach right now. But it'll be moving up the coast very soon back up to Virginia Beach. But they support us wherever they are, and we love the crew of the Desperado. I've known them for many years. We're talking with AWR Hawkins here in the KAHR Arms. He was just mentioned he's carrying a car. These are the KAHR Firearms Group studios. This is the Leadslingers microphone, and all of this is being brought to you by X. We'll tell you more about that, X Insurance, in just a little bit. AWR Hawkins, welcome back. We got a short segment here for you, brother. Customers and staff. This is news that's just, it's not really breaking, but recently breaking. There's more. We're learning more about it as time goes by. But customers and staff open fire and kill armed attacker at gun range. Now, you and I talked about this over the weekend. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This has got to be the epitome of one of those examples, is it not?
Yeah, Metairie, Louisiana. The guy got frustrated because they wouldn't let him carry an armed gun through the interior to the exterior. But that's just protocol at a lot of places. You have to case your firearm, you bring it in cased and unloaded, and you load it at the range in the proper manner, which is whatever manner that they prescribe. And he got mad when they told him that, and so he started shooting. Anyway, I think they found his body in the parking lot. And I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't bother me. What bothers me is he was able to kill 2 people before the customers did kill him. But if you can't control yourself any better than that, then
Well, there ain't a background check in the world going to stop something like that. If somebody is hell-bent, this begs the question, and I don't know. I'm asking. I'm theorizing right now on the air. This is live. I'm just going to let this out. But this guy, it almost seemed that this was an intent. How you hear somebody that gets ticked off like that and then snaps, and I don't know. It almost seems like that was just that was an excuse. I don't know. We're not going to know, but you're right. They found his body in the parking lot.
Normal people don't reach for their gun unless they're in a life and death situation. They just don't. You don't even think about it because you've trained yourself and you carry that mindset that's your last option, and that's it.
Montana becomes the 18th state. Congratulations, Montana. Whitefish, you're listening new. We're on a bunch of stations up in Montana, but Whitefish, you are new to Armed American Radio right now. Congratulations. You become the 18th state to abolish concealed carry for the permit requirement, and that was right, and that bill is signed right after Utah signed the bill, becoming 17. AWR, this is a movement now that I think is going to gain traction. Much like in 87, Florida gave us the permit that rolled across the country, virtually every state now. Well, all states have a permit system. You still have the Democrat-controlled. Those are the ones with lockdowns and stuff like that still going on, that still have the may issue rather than the shall issue. But nonetheless, the permits have now kind of outlived themselves, and now we're seeing this movement to constitutional carry. There's a good bill in the state of Georgia, and there are 4 more others, 3 more other states that I'm aware of, possibly 4. This is going to be the norm here soon, is it not?
Well, let's hope. I mean, Tennessee's right there, too. Tennessee's governor's pushing the legislature to do it. But, I mean, all you have to do is think about it this way. Do you have to get a permit to speak free? Do you have to get a permit to worship free? Do you have to get a permit to be secure in your person's house's papers and effects? Do you have to get a permit to prevent the government from putting horses on your property and forcing you to feed them in wartime? All of those things are protected by the First, Third, and Fourth Amendments, and you don't have to get a permit to protect any of those rights because the amendments themselves protect the rights. And the Second Amendment's the same way, and that right to carry an arm for self-defense ought require no permit whatsoever.
And I think we're moving in that direction. What happened since 87, folks, is what you've seen is exactly what we knew all along and what Florida knew all along back in 87, and that was that law-abiding citizens are, in fact, just that, law-abiding citizens. And as the permits began to roll out of the state of Florida, that proved itself state after state after state, decade after decade after decade after decade now. And we're finding that, hey, guess what? We shouldn't have to have that permit to exercise that right. So congrats, Utah. You're listening all over the state right now, and congrats to Montana. Tennessee, hopefully you and I bordering each other here will make that work as well. AWR, Philadelphia. Police say violent criminals becoming more and more emboldened. You wrote about this back on the 18th, but I think it's important we talk about this because this is a trend that we're seeing in a lot of Democrat-controlled cities around the country since last summer. What's going on here? Because it's not just Chicago anymore, brother.
Well, no, I know in St. Louis they believe that the fact that they're wearing masks gives them a little more fire because they believe they're unidentifiable. And I would say to a large degree they're right. So they can now go in somewhere with a mask on and they don't raise suspicion. And they can position themselves wherever they want to be to best carry out their crime and then do it. And so I do know that is one of the big factors.
Yeah, I think it is too, because when you're talking about, you're basically talking about gangbangers here. And it is easy there. Look, you walked into but here's the thing, a good opportunity to point this out. You couldn't walk into any liquor store with a mask on your face in most states anyway, anytime, or a bank. And that never stopped a criminal from putting a mask on their face and going in and robbing a bank, has it? Not that I'm ever aware of.
No.
All right.
No.
So that, now they're emboldened because they can go in. It doesn't draw any additional attention today. So think about that. Face diaper wearers. Think about that. St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Biden could make gun control dreams come true. We already know this, but now you've got lamestream press saying these things in opinion pieces and editorials. What are they telling us about Biden at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch here in your headline?
Well, they're pointing to the Parkland shooting in February 2018 and telling us that background checks, universal background checks, are a rational response. See, the problem is that gunman passed the background check to get his gun. So if we had universal background checks, it wouldn't have stopped that attack. So how are they rational? That's what I ask. That's all I'm asking. How are they rational? Wouldn't have stopped that attack. And I think I list about 17 other attacks over the last 10 to 12 years they wouldn't have stopped either. So how are they rational?
You do, and this is something that you've famously done for years. Let's read these off. Virginia Beach, 2019. Poway, California, the synagogue attacker, the Tree of Life Synagogue, Parkland, Texas church attacker, Las Vegas, Alexandria, Orlando, UCLA gunman. All of these people, I could go down the list, all passed background checks. And by the way, Virginia, I know you know this probably better than anyone, but they used Virginia Beach and Virginia Tech to come after your gun rights when the Democrats took power for the first time in a quarter century. And guess what happened? They got it, but none of their gun control that they wanted would have stopped either one of those attacks because both of those shooters also passed background checks. AWR Hawkins, you do it every day, man. We've got just 30 seconds left. I do want to point this out, that you wrote about it, but you reminded us on the heels of that last column, here's the segue, Chris Murphy from Connecticut to put forward universal gun background checks for Biden. Do you see this plan coming together in the next few weeks now for the massive push for gun control real quick?
Yeah, and you'll have to watch them combining what Murphy does with what Sheila Jackson Lee has done so they can get their registry.
20.
All right, that's how it's going to work. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. Go put your foot up, bud. Relax. We're thinking about you here. We love you. Everything that you do. Thanks for being out there in Phoenix speaking as well. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Ignatius, Piazza will be here. Hey, Mark Walters here. In today's world, violent crime.
Look.
Say what?
Sorry, it was an accident.
Oh, that's okay. So you have Tourette's accident?
I do.
Please don't let that out on the airwaves. I have to admit, I used to love watching Howard Stern, listening to Howard Stern years ago, and him and what's his
Ignatius
name?
is on hold.
Gotcha. Him and Stutter and John. That used to crack me up.
Yeah, that was an incredible bit by that guy.
It really was. We're halfway down, bud. I can't believe it.
Fastest hours in radio.
Was the first spot we just run in this break? It was the Frontsight, wasn't it? It was.
Yep. We're close. All right. And 30.
No feed. And MyPillow. Don't forget to use code AAR at MyPillow.com. Welcome back. Welcome back indeed. You are inside the KAHR Firearms Group studios. This is the Leadslingers microphone. All this being brought to you by X Insurance. Make sure to check them out. You heard, if you were paying attention during the break, the first spot was Frontsight. Frontsight.com/Mark. Now, we're going to be doing some fun stuff with Frontsight here in the next few days, so stay tuned on that. But as of right now, Frontsight.com/Mark, and you can get the course for free from Dr. Ignatius Piazza, and we'll talk about all that stuff later in the program as well, too. Make sure to support all of our partners, please. Dr. Piazza from Frontsight joins me right now. Dr. Piazza, how the heck are you, sir? Always a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm a little concerned because I'm beginning to see, and I know you are too, and this is part of what we wanted to talk with you about. I'm beginning to see, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. But I'm beginning to see the gun control thing begin to take shape here, not just words. I'm beginning to see a pattern develop here. Are you sensing that as well, sir?
Well, we knew it was coming if Trump was not reelected. They made no bones about it. It used to be that the Democrats would say, oh, no, we're not going to take your guns. But that was not what they ran on this time around. And now that Biden is in office, he's encouraging the Democrat-controlled Congress to put gun control bills in front of him, and he's going to sign every one of them.
Yeah, he will.
So, yeah, it's coming.
I'm beginning to see the very beginning of what is looking like a pattern. As I sit back and study this and watch this, it's not just lip service anymore, Dr. Piazza. I'm looking at, for example, Chris Murphy now putting forward the bill for Biden that we were just talking with AWR Hawkins from Breitbart in the previous segment, and we kind of tied it together, how this is what the White House is yelling for. This is what they had in their multiple step program inside the Democrat Party platform, and he has on his own website. And now Murphy's going in on his behalf, and they're beginning to do this. But there are two bills in particular that I want to talk with you about today. And I want to start with one. We've talked about H.R. 127 here on the show, listeners and viewers, for quite some time. But there's one that's not gotten a lot of traction we haven't talked about. Also, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. Houston, you're listening right now. What's wrong with you guys, man? Come on. You can fix this problem. Why? She just keeps getting elected. But it's H.R. 125. Dr. Piazza, what do you know about this bill, and what concerns you about it, and why is it even getting legs, or is it, or can it, or will it, or is this something that's just going to dry up and go away, or is this real trouble for us?
Well, I think what everybody needs to understand, I mean, during the election, there was a lot of rhetoric about, if Joe Biden gets elected, he's going to take your guns, and that's what he's going to try to do. But what all gun owners have to understand is that there's a lot of litigation that occurs between a bill being passed and a bill being signed by the president and then actually taking effect. And this is where people like Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation become so valuable to gun owners. And I hope everybody supports the Second Amendment Foundation as I recommend they do. Because when a bill is passed and it's signed, and Biden's going to sign anything that is put in front of him. In fact, he probably doesn't even know half of the stuff he is signing with all these executive orders. They just throw something in front of him and tell him to sign it, and he's signing it. He's going to sign every gun control bill as well. But that's where the fight begins. And it begins in the courts. It begins in filing litigation against these laws because they're unconstitutional. So I don't get too excited about these different bills that are proposed because, again, they have to pass committee. They have to get voted on. And there's a lot of I hate to even use the word, pro-gun Democrats. I actually hate that word because
I'm with you.
Really can't be pro-gun and a Democrat at the same time because they're polar opposites of each other. But there are some people in the southern states, some politicians in the southern states that know that if they vote for gun control, they're not going to get reelected, even though they're Democrats. So there's a lot of room between the time a bill is agreed upon, the time it's signed, and of course the time that it's actually enacted, and then people have to start complying or choosing not to comply with the law. And hopefully, and we haven't seen it yet. We have not seen it yet, but hopefully with a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, these unconstitutional bills, whether Biden signs them or not, will get struck down for being unconstitutional. So that's where I'm focusing my attention right now. If people are going to my blog and reading my blog, it's focusing on, what can we do? Well, what you can do is you can support the red states because they're actually leading the charge with filing lawsuits and passing laws that state that they're not going to comply with federal gun control laws, regardless of who is signing them. And you can support organizations like the Second Amendment Foundation, who will actually file the litigation, and those people that are, pushing these bills to the Supreme Court to get, proper rulings on them.
You just opened up. Wow, I wish we could keep you for another hour and a half because I could go another 3-hour program with you on everything you just talked about. So let me start here. First off, let me go back to you, listeners, so you understand. When I was talking about H.R. 125, this is a Sheila Jackson Lee bill, to amend Title 18 United States Code to provide for a 7-day waiting period before a semi-automatic firearm, a silencer, really suppressor she means, armor-piercing ammunition, that means hollow points to this woman, or a large-capacity ammunition magazine, that's a standard capacity magazine in the real world, may even be transferred. Okay, and this is in addition to H.R. 127, which, believe it or not, we're even talking about, that actually has legs, and Dick Durbin has signaled that this thing may get through the judiciary. I mean, who knows where we're at in this crazy stuff right now. Dr. Piazza, I want to go back quickly. You mentioned, before we go into some of the tactics and some of the Supreme Court questions I have for you, the executive orders. How concerned are you, or what do you think is the greatest threat from an executive order from Biden? Because we know that the Democrats couldn't care less about the constitutionality of any of this. What do you? How far do you think he'll push that pen?
He'll push it as far as he can. He'll push it until somebody files litigation, either on the state level or an individual level, to stop it and to get a restraining order against the executive order. I mean, this started with Obama, and Obama wrote all of these executive orders because he could not get anything passed because the Republicans were preventing him from doing so. If you remember, the first term, I believe it was the first term that Obama had, the first 2 years, he had a supermajority.
Right.
And that's when, they were running roughshod over the Republicans. And then they lost the supermajority in the midterm elections. And at that point, he became a lame duck. He couldn't get anything done. So in order for him to continue his socialist agenda, he had to start writing executive orders. And prior to him, most presidents refrained from overusing executive orders because it doesn't follow with our form of government. But he did that, and then Trump came in and he undid all of the executive orders that Obama placed. And he had a supermajority for the first 2 years, but the Rhino Republicans ruined that. We could have set back the Democratic agenda for 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if the Republicans would have just gotten together and the rhinos would have voted the way the people who voted them in wanted them to vote, then we would have just decimated the Democrats' agenda. But that didn't happen. And everyone was looking around. What the heck is going on? You know, why do we still have Obamacare? Why do we still have all these gun control bills? This could have all been set back.
30.
Have national, concealed carry, because he couldn't get the votes.
Right.
And then as the economy started riding and as people started getting behind Trump and the Republican Party saw, wow, this guy is really accomplishing some things here and he's creating this, America First movement, then he started to get more things done. And he really did not have to do a bunch of executive orders. He didn't. He didn't. He signed so fewer executive orders than Obama ever did. And then, of course, Biden comes in, and in his first day, he just undoes everything that Trump did.
He signed over 100 plus right out of the box. And, it's interesting. When Dr. Piazza was talking about Obama, the political capital that they spent those first 2 years on Obamacare cost him, and that's what forced that. That's when the executive pen became necessary because they blew it with all their Obamacare push, which, by the way, was a gun control bill, too. Don't think they were hiding anything behind that. We're not hiding behind that. Back right after this with Ignatius Piazza. He's fun to talk to. I need to get him in a roundtable. Looks like somebody's, John, is it you, I think, asking about John Lott. Was that you asking about that? Somebody in there was saying, next time we have John on. John will probably be on next weekend, and his son, who just wrote a really good piece over at Fox News Maxim, will more than likely be on as well. You see, everything that Sheila Jackson Lee, do yourself a solid and look up H.R. 125. Read her lame-ass reasoning in the bill, and you will find that virtually everything that she mentions John Lott has officially debunked to the point that he doesn't even get asked about it anymore because it's embarrassing to his quizzers. Coming to the end of the second hour already. Good Lord. Face diaper wearers. You like that, huh? I don't put a mask in my pocket. Around here, anyway, nobody cares. Nobody asks you any questions. Still a lot of people wearing them, but nobody says anything.
And 30.
Hey, this final segment of Armed American Radio is being sponsored by Crossbreed Holsters. Make sure to visit crossbreedholsters.com. Now let's get back to me. Welcome back inside Armed American Radio's Monstercast, KAHR Firearms Group Studios. I'm on the Leadslingers microphone with you today. Every bit of it presented to you around the country by X Insurance. Make sure to check out xinsurance.com. Filling your prescription for freedom. I cannot believe we are already near the end of the second hour already. Let me just very quickly give a quick shout out. If anybody needs our assistance out there right now, it's Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The list of retailers who don't like what he thinks are trying to destroy his business. I want you to think about that. Again, wrap your head around this. In America today, what these crazy times are. Every bit of it led from cancel culture, leftist, socialist, Marxist, communist, masquerading as Democrats. Unbelievable stuff. MyPillow.com. That's how you get them back. MyPillow.com. Use the promo code AAR. Let them know that gun owners are supporting them. And give a pillow to somebody who doesn't like guns that you know, and use the AAR promo code. And it's kind of fun when they're slumbering and you know that they're supporting the right to bear arms while they're sleeping. See, that's how that stuff works. It's fun. MyPillow.com. Please make sure to do that. Of course, Frontsight.com. We're talking to Dr. Ignatius Piazza. Frontsight.com/Mark. We have new stuff coming up with Frontsight here in the next few days. But for right now, Dr. Piazza is giving away the course now, the certificate, free. Frontsight.com/Mark. Frontsight.com/Mark. Go get it for free. It doesn't cost you anything, and that's what supports Frontsight and what supports Armed American Radio. See how that equation works? Welcome back. Dr. Piazza, welcome back to the show, my friend. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I could keep going with you for hours. I really enjoying the conversation. Let's, if it's okay.
Let me add a couple of things here. While I'm waiting for your segment to resume, I see all of my friends are advertising on your radio station. That pleases me greatly. And I want to put a real plug in for Mike Lindell. I mean, that guy is a true patriot. He put his life, he put his livelihood on the line. As many of us did in trying to get the truth out about the fraud in the election. And I featured a little story about him on my blog, and I encouraged everybody to go to his company and buy some product. In fact, I showed the receipt of what I purchased from him. I purchased about $2,000 worth of stuff. I got his towels and his sheets and his pillows and the heavy blanket and all that stuff, and I love it. It's all great stuff. And I also wanted to say, I really miss Aaron Zellman of the Jews for the Preservation for Firearms Ownership. He was a true friend of mine. I co-produced with him the documentary Innocence Betrayed. If people have not seen that documentary, this was done quite some time ago, but it's more timely now than it ever has been. And it documented the genocide that occurred after gun control was adopted and passed by all of these different countries. And, Aaron was a true patriot, and I'm glad that his company has, continued on in his absence. And I encourage everybody to support what they're doing.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, too. I want to go ahead and point this out while you did mention that. I was just recently elected to the board of directors of the JPFO, so I'll be working very closely with that crew. So see how this all ties in together, listeners. This is how we support each other. It's what we do. And Aaron had been on the program before his untimely passing, and he was always fun to talk to. And talk about a patriot, man. He was somebody who got it.
Absolutely.
I mean, he understood it at his core that what we talk about is just paramount to life in America. We lose everything if we lose what we're talking about on this program today. So, Dr. Piazza, thanks for bringing all of that up. I appreciate it. Let's go to Frontsight, because Frontsight, I mean, it's what you do at Frontsight, world-class training, but you're working really on this. I mean, people don't realize how active you are in fighting for the right to keep and bear arms. What do you want listeners to know? How can they support you in this incredible endeavor?
Well, after the election results, and everybody was shell-shocked that we didn't get the result that we should have received, and the courts didn't stand behind it, the complete catastrophe that it was, everybody asked, well, what can you do? So the first thing I led with on my blog was, number one, if you live in a blue state, get the hell out of there. Mm-hmm. Move to a red state. Stop paying state income taxes to these states that are using the money against you. Move to a red state. I'm doing the same thing. I'm moving to Texas. Number two, support those organizations who are working to defend your rights. And the one, again, that I put at the top of this is the Second Amendment Foundation. And then third, go out and get trained, because that is the one thing. Once you're trained to be an expert in the use of handgun, shotgun, rifle, submachine gun, that's the one thing the government can never take from you. And the transition, or the training that you get, will transition to any weapon. You know, whether it's a revolver, a single-shot rifle, a break-open shotgun, whatever it is, once you get trained. And that's why we're providing this free course. We want people to come out and get trained, because once you're trained in the expert use of small arms, you become a walking, talking representative of safe and responsible gun ownership. And that turns the narrative about guns, because people cannot, for lack of a better term, they cannot bullshit you when you know how to use a firearm and you know how to use it to levels that exceed that of law enforcement and military. So when you're talking to people, that comes across. You come across as an expert. They listen to you. It changes people's perceptions. Then they want to get trained. And of course, you bring them out to Frontsight and we'll train them as well. I mean, we've trained, 1 million people, and I would love to train 10 million more in the next 10 years. We have the facilities to do it. We could train 2,000 people a day in and day out at Frontsight on our 550-acre world-class facility out there. We have the facilities, we have the staff. This is why I'm offering this free course. Come on out, get trained, and be that walking, talking representative of safe and responsible gun ownership that leads the way in your community and gets more and more people involved.
And that, you know what, everything, let me put this in really simple perspective for you, listener. I think you've heard me mention this many, many times over the years, but the single most important thing that you can do as a gun owner, is take someone to the range. I've never in my adult life, ever in decades of shooting, have I ever had anyone come back after taking a day at the range with me and saying, oh my God, I never want to do that again. That was absolutely horrific and no fun. In fact, it's just the opposite. No matter what their political persuasion is, they always have a great time. They always have a blast. And isn't that true, though? The single most important thing you can do is to let somebody know, hey, look, feel this empowerment. I've always had great luck with it, and I know a lot of people who have gone to Frontsight multiple times after taking the first class out there, Dr. Piazza. And then now, Dr. John Adine from Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, for example, is one of your biggest fans. He's been out there, I think, 5 times now. He said, I took the first course, and I can't stop going back. Where can people find you? Where can they get involved? We got about 20 seconds.
Just go to the link that you've been giving them, the frontsight.com/Mark, M-A-R-K, and you'll see a brief video that I give to talk about Frontsight and what we're doing and why we want to train people. Get signed up, come out and take the class. You can even get some at-home via your computer to prepare yourself for the course, and we'd love to see you out there.
Oh, my gosh. So much fun to talk to you, Dr. Piazza. You're going to come back real soon again. I could keep you on for another hour easily into the Roundtable, and you know what? We might have to work on that. And by the way, great news going to Texas, and also great advice. Get out. Go where people like you if you can possibly do it. But then again, I know some of you can't, so what do? You got to sit and fight. Dr. Piazza's got your back at Frontsight. Frontsight.com/MARK. Here we are, third hour coming up next. The Roundtable with the crew. KAHR CEO Justin Moon, Brad Premo from Leadslingers, and reporter Neil McCabe. Carry on, carry off, and carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
I can think of a better term.
Yeah, me too. Did you get that?
I did.
Thank God. Now, you want to hear something interesting?
right.
I thought the exact same thing because when he said, for lack of a better term, I knew. I didn't know what word was coming, but I knew.
But it was going to be close.
I knew it was going to be close, yeah. Which after 10 p.m. really doesn't matter, but we're not after 10 p.m. on the West Coast.
There's an abbreviation that works a lot better.
Oh, you mean BS?
Slightly. That's a far better term.
So when you pop that, what's an 8-second, how does that catch up?
It slowly rebuilds after it's been hit.
So listeners on terrestrial heard what?
They heard skip.
For lack of a better term, and then we move to the whatever. That's what they do. That's what they hear.
They probably didn't even hear for lack of a better term. That probably got ate up too.
Yeah, because when you pop that, well, that's right, because there's also a delay. Yeah, okay, so that delay kicks in at the moment.
Well, no, that was said, and then a couple seconds went by, and then I popped the delay, and that was 8 seconds. So any of the words said previous to, probably for the lack of a better term, all got clipped, and then there was, some. I'd have to pull it off the posting just to see exactly how it sounded, but.
All right. But bottom line is it did not go out terrestrial.
Yep.
Nice work, brother.
Not my first rodeo.
Let's go over. I'm sure there's some comments going on over here. Let's get over here to Restream. Let's get over here to the comment section over there. Martin says, thanks, Greg. No, here, let me say this. Thanks, Greg. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun part is it's all on video. And it's all on tape. It's all on Facebook, which doesn't matter.
Who cares about Facebook? No one.
Di says, good job, Greg. You pay attention. Ryan says,
only to the
catch,
important
Greg.
parts.
Good catch, Greg.
Just doing my job.
Dubes, yes, they do, sir. They absolutely do have classes for handicap wheelchairs. Yes, they do. If you would like information on that, you know where to reach me, and I'll get you information sent over. Lars, there are lots of hotels nearby. Yes. Dube says, hope Greg was all over the dump switch. Doesn't bother me, but the FCC has no sense of humor. Robin McNeese says, we heard that, Mark. Hey, Robin. Yeah, so did I.
So did I.
Well, the worst part is, now here, so you think about this for a second, okay? When you're on camera and you're on a live mic, if you notice, I'll glance up and look at the time. How much time do we have left in the segment? We had about a couple minutes left to go. There wasn't a thing I could do about it. No. Now, I could probably have said, hey, we need to be careful. We are on live radio. But there's no point in that when you're talking to him or a couple others. He made his point.
I had General Flynn drop the same word on me a couple years back when I was running a show across the hall.
The same General Flynn?
Yep.
Yeah, he probably could have got away with worse. Tom, yes,
yeah,
sir.
It was all about the time that he was starting to face his trial. It was before he got convicted.
Yeah, it's been really, really hard to maintain. I did one interview. Oh, gosh, it's been several years ago, where I got blindsided. It was faked. It was a faked conservative deal. And as soon as I got on the air, they went after me, and I was in absolutely no mood. to listen to any, for lack of a better term, bullshit from the host. Did you catch that, lack of a better term, right? Did you catch that? I should have said BS. But the two of us, it just turned into a screaming match. I mean, screaming at each other. I have no idea what was coming out of my mouth. I have no earthly idea, but it felt kind of good being the guest and not the host. He called me a murderer. And that's when it was game on.
That's absurd. And more or less, that was set up so he could prod you into, something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's shows out there I won't do, like the Tom Hartman show. Pff, please. Their producer calls me all the time. Oh, Mr. Walters, we'd love to have you on the show to talk with Tom. And tell him to go pound salt. What these guys do is they set you up for a phony pre-interview. Okay? I don't need a pre-interview. The guy knows my position. He knows how I'm going to answer questions. What it is a setup. What they do is, it's called a sandbag. What they do is they try to get inexperienced guests. They'll ask you a series of questions to see how you'll answer them, and that puts you in a mindset that that's the direction they're going to go on air. When in reality, what they're getting ready to do is make you look like an idiot and not give you any mic time so that the host can look like he beat up the gun nut on the radio. They're dirty, they're just liars. There's no sense in going on their programs, none.
When I first got into radio and I was doing a local station here, and it was predominantly Democrat radio, we had a pair of guys that would come on, and one of them would play the conservative while they were both Democrats. And it was just a complete fake show. And they would make all kinds of preposterous positions and stances that they're trying to take, or try to have the straw man argument from the conservative side and make conservatives look bad. Yeah,
it is a sandbag. It's a complete sandbag fakery is what it is. And Hartman's an expert at it. There are others that do it as well, too.
That's basically FM radio now.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. You know who used to try to do it was Piers Morgan. Then he got caught. And then he just came out, but I've often said, and I've been asked to be on Piers Morgan's program many times.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on Neil. I got everybody else. Here we go.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the KAHR Firearms Studio.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're
got Neil.
Eat it.
It's 2021. We're in a new decade.
Freedom might be an uphill battle sometimes, but freedom will always prevail.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance.
I wait all week to do this radio program. I look forward to it every single day, and I'm constantly looking for things to talk about as we move through the week. And I got to be honest with you, I was asked to speak at a rally in Phoenix, Arizona. If you've been listening to the previous 2 hours, you heard me talk about it with my first guest, Cheryl, Todd, and, of course, Mr. Alan Gottlieb, both of whom spoke at the rally in Phoenix yesterday. And I was prepared to go. It was flight problems coming back, actually, that I just couldn't get what I needed to get in time because I couldn't get anything direct because it was late. Nonetheless, forget all that. But there was a risk that I may have missed this show live, and I didn't have enough time while I would have been out there to get anything in place, fresh and new for you, taped, which is fine. It'd still be a fresh new show, but I may have lost the opportunity to be live, and I wasn't willing to risk that. We are 12 years into this on April 26th, and that's my claim to fame, is we have never missed a live broadcast on Sunday. We have always given you fresh content every single week. We have maybe in the third hour, because of technical glitch, we'd had to throw something else in there, or something was so good, but you've got fresh radio, and I just wasn't willing to risk that. And unfortunately, it cost me an opportunity to speak at a huge pro-gun rally that drew thousands of people in, of all places, one of the most gun-friendly places on earth, and that's Phoenix, Arizona. So, all right, here we are. We're inside the KAHR Arms Studios. We're on the Leadslingers microphone. All of it's being presented by X Insurance. The guest lineup in the previous 2 hours was amazing. If you're watching the show behind the scenes, you get the raw stuff behind the scenes. You've gotten some pretty good sausage making going on behind the scenes during the breaks because you get that live feed. So make sure to check out the program live on Facebook.com, Armed American Radio, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, or you can check it out on YouTube. And next week, we will be on another huge platform. I'll tell you more about that next week. Hopefully, it may be as early as tomorrow. I was hoping it would have been today. And those of you who are wondering where the website is, it's under construction. We will be relaunching it, kicking it off. I had hoped to get it out there today. Not going to happen, obviously. Tomorrow, Tuesday at the very latest, I'm expecting it, but we want it to be good for you. We want it to be right when we do it. All right, here we are. This is a Roundtable. It's been going on for years, a classic. Let's see whose photo pops up first. Brad Premo, there you are, CEO of Leadslingers Whiskey. Brad, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here as always. And we got Justin Moon, the CEO of KAHR Arms, coming up behind Brad. Justin, how are you, brother?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
Always a pleasure to have you here, my friend, particularly in the KAHR Firearms Group studios. Way too much fun. And we've got Neil McCabe, a fellow at the Gold Institute
Mark.
from Parts Unknown. Neil, how the heck are you, man?
Phenomenal and getting better every day. Glad to be on with you, Mark.
Your connection sounds absolutely amazing. I want to lay that out and throw that out. All right, let me start with Brad because we went to Brad first. He popped up here. Brad's mug popped up behind me. Brad, we have a lot to talk about today. A lot of stuff went on last week. I mean, even if you just read some of the headlines from AWR Hawkins, you've seen everything from happy ending stories of various kinds, a 12-year-old defending her family from using a firearm to defend her family, a 12-year-old, from a Vietnam veteran who beat somebody that was breaking into the home to save his family with a shotgun, all the way to some play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We got some idiot walks into a gun shop and goes crazy because he doesn't like one of their rules and gets taken down by armed patrons and staff. Brad, there's so much going on out there. Joe Biden, the threat now is getting very real. We're beginning to see that take shape. What was the biggest event you saw this topic-wise last week that you think hit home to you?
Well, I think probably what's hitting home the most is, like the events that you mentioned, and contrasting that with, the propaganda machine that's starting to get spun up to take our gun rights away. You can't see, I know what I see with my own two eyes, and then I know what I'm being told by the media and other people, and they just don't mesh. Firearms ownership has increased drastically in this country over the last 30 years. Concealed carry has increased drastically across this country over the last 30 years. And that whole time, violent crime rates have trended down. So you can't tell me that citizens being armed is a problem. There's got to be another reason why you want to take the guns. And so I think that contrast and what we've seen, like the things you mentioned and then what we're hearing from the government, that's really what has struck me the most over the last week or so.
And you know what that is, Justin? That's a fake media narrative, isn't it? What he is talking about is the painting. It's gaslighting. It's like, well, how can this be? Crime is dropping. I can go right to the FBI website if I'm so inclined to do that, and I'm smart enough to do that instead of believing what I'm being spoon-fed by a press that lies to me every day. If I'm smart enough to do that, I can see that, yet I'm being told something different over here. So isn't that the media creating the narrative so that they can set us up for what the administration wants to do?
You're absolutely right. The media is making up a fake narrative. I mean, if you really want to know who the mass murderers are, I mean, look at democide in the 20th century. The fact is that 240 million plus people have been killed by their own government police. And whereas in that same time period, maybe 5 million people have been killed by criminals. So the reality is, you're like 20 times more likely to be killed by your own government than you are by a criminal. So, hey, we need guns to protect ourselves from the most likely mass murderer.
Our founders knew that. And you're talking about genocide in countries like China. We could go across the globe. We could go around the world, and getting up into more modern times when you talk about the 20th century, when you look at Germany, et cetera, the Holocaust. I mean, there's example after example after example of that. And people, Neil McCabe, people don't want to believe that their own government. And let me draw this line here with you. Democrats, Dr. Ignatius Piazza was on the program just last hour from Frontsight, and he made the comment, prophetic, but one that I've agreed with for years. I've said it many times. You can't be a Democrat, okay, and love your guns when you're voting for the party that wants to take away that right. Now, I could argue that a couple different ways. I would say that you certainly can't be a gun rights activist and vote that way, but you can certainly be a Democrat that loves guns, but you can't be that activist. Does that person not believe, that Democrat not believe that Joe Biden and his administration absolutely do want to disarm us?
I think that Democrats try to, the pro-gun Democrats, if there are any left, are just try to stay close to the people, and they talk to their people locally, and they say, hey, I'm with you, and they show up in the gun range. And then you have a lot of Democrats who go into cosplay. We all remember the pictures of John Kerry holding a shotgun with his barn jacket, or Andrew Cuomo, the embattled governor of New York, when he was in the midst of restricting gun rights with the help of the Republican Party of New York. He went duck hunting and had his picture taken. And so, it's difficult. It's difficult to argue that there are any pro-gun rights Democrats left, because they acquiesce when the National Party and their contributors, push the agenda that they're pushing.
Yeah, let's not forget Obama at Camp David, all right, with that staged phony photograph. But you are correct about that. I find that that's a rabbit hole we could go down right now that I don't want to spend too much time on, relative to how can you be this over here and this over here and vote for that's a question that we've been talking about on the program for years, but we'll save that for another show when we can actually focus on that for a while. Brad, I want to go back to you for just a second, because when you talk about crime, okay, we're seeing some things in cities across the country now. AWR Hawkins and I talked about it in the previous hour. One of his headlines was 8 wounded in Philadelphia shooting. Police say violent criminals becoming more and more emboldened. And we talked about, now, if you wore a mask and approached a bank door, people pretty much knew you were coming in to do no good. Now you come in wearing a mask and everybody's got a face diaper on, so criminals feel more emboldened. We're getting ready to take a break. See, this hour's going to fly. Gosh darn it. It just is going to happen. So here's what I'm going to do. Brad, I'll set the question up for you, because it's not just Chicago anymore. We've been giving, and I'll give you the numbers for Chicago when we come back from the break, but we're seeing this in other cities around the country. Emboldened criminals. New York is a prime example, where numbers are up triple digits in crime. And it's all Democrat gun-controlled cities that we see this.
Funny.
We'll talk about it all when we come back. We've got 3 segments left. I know I wish we had 4, but we'll be back with the crew right after this. Don't go away. Hey, guys. Well, I wasn't expecting that. The 30?
Expecting what?
I wasn't paying attention to the clock. All of a sudden, I hear 30. I'm like, oh, no.
Well, expect more.
Mostly peaceful weekend. Hey, jackass.com is always fun if you want to get some humor in these numbers.
Was that a mostly peaceful weekend in Chicago?
Yeah, peaceful tally, 2 killed, 17 wounded. With the polar vortex in retreat and an additional 30 degrees to be added to the thermometer this weekend, cases of high-speed lead poisoning will look to resume its increase in the increase. Which is all true as the temperatures go up.
Yep.
Even criminals weren't running around when it was 30 degrees below zero.
The only criminals that were running around are the ones that Juicy Smollett claims to have run into at 2 a.m. in the middle of Chicago while going to get sandwiches. And plenty of time.
Yeah, we got 2 minutes, man. Where you at?
Yeah. All right, we're close.
Roger that.
All right. And 30.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Welcome back inside the Monstercast. I love this. KAHR Firearms Group Studios on the Leadslingers microphone. Every bit of it presented to you today by X Insurance. And Mike Gallagher, we appreciate very much his rejoiner and his voice, and Sebastian Gork and all the others that help out this program, and our sponsors will go to that in just a couple minutes. I was getting ready to ask Brad a question before I found out we, again, running out of time. Segments fly by. But here's some numbers out of Chicago real quick, and they are lower, but it's February. Trust me, these numbers are going to explode. I've been studying these numbers for years. Year-to-date, shot and killed in Chicago, 79. Shot and wounded, 297. Total shot, 376. Total homicides, 81. Remember, we are only 21 days into February now in 2021. And Brad, let me go to you directly. It's interesting on the website here. With the polar vortex in retreat and an additional 30 degrees to be added to the thermometer this weekend, cases of high-speed lead poisoning will look to resume as the temperatures increase, which we all know happens in cities like Chicago in particular when the summer comes around. Now with nobody in school, who knows what's going to happen? I expect these numbers are going to be off the chain this year. But is anything they're proposing going to stop any of this madness in any of these cities that AWR was writing about, like New York and like Chicago and like St. Louis? It's ludicrous to suggest it otherwise, isn't it?
Yeah, and I can only laugh at it because the premise is just so dumb. The thing is, these proposals that I always, the question I ask is, show me this proposal. What part of this is going to have a measurable effect on criminal behavior that people use firearms for? They never mention criminals. They're just talking about taking guns away and restricting the behavior of people who already follow the law. Criminals don't care. They're already breaking the law. Murder is already illegal.
robbery is already illegal. Shooting somebody for no good reason or in the furtherance of another crime is already illegal. You can't make it more illegal than it already is. Whether you do with a gun or a knife or a ball bat or whatever, these are still criminal behavior, and people are still going to do it. They do it now. They find a way. So all these measures do is they punish the law-abiding, make us into the bad guy, although we've done nothing wrong. I'm sitting here in my office on my chair, minding my own business, doing nothing wrong, but they want to pass a law that can turn me into a felon overnight.
How far away is a handgun or rifle to you that should something happen right now? How are you accessible?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Is it on your person or is it sitting next to you? I asked that for a reason. I'm gonna ask Justin. Who will tell you a little bit about what AWR and AWR Hawkins and I have talked about. But obviously, you're close to a firearm.
Yeah, you'll have a hard time ever finding me more than arm's length away from a firearm or a weapon of some type I know how to use.
Justin, when we talk about some of this stuff, again, we were talking with AWR Hawkins from Breitbart, and he and I have discussed it many, many times over the years, but he writes what I call the happy ending stories, where the good guy wins, the bad guy loses. And as I've often said over the years, if the bad guy makes a decision to try to attempt to deprive another human being of their right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, they lose their right to all three of the above instantly. And if their own death results because of their actions and someone took defensive action against them because of their actions, too bad for them. I couldn't care less about that person. Enjoy the ride. I hope it hurt. You brought it on yourself. But you know what's interesting? When you cover these stories day after day after day, you look at some of these, Justin, the event happens at 2 o'clock in the morning or 12:30 in the morning. People were awakened by the sound of glass breaking. I mean, people in America actually live close to their firearms and keep them handy, don't they?
Oh, they certainly do. I always have a few next to me.
What's that company you run again?
It's called KAHR Firearms Group.
And you make what line of firearms at KAHR Arms?
Oh, we do a lot. We do the car pistol, we do the Tommy gun, the BFR, the Desert Eagle, Magnum, the whole bunch.
So I'm going to see that assumption. It wasn't. There's the plug. And here's the fun part about that too. Just to get a plug in, AWR in the previous hour mentioned that he was actually carrying his sidearm was a car that he did. I don't know what model it was, but he said he had his car on his hip as he was doing the interview with us. And the point that I'm making, Neil McCabe, is that Americans, regardless of what we're fed, this steady diet of garbage and lies and hate all day, every day, Americans really, truly do love their guns, don't they, Neil McCabe?
Yeah, and I think one of the dynamics that's really going to throw sand in the gears of the National Democrats or the Biden administration as they push the gun agenda is that over the last, say, 10 years, the expansion of gun ownership, not just in numbers, but among people who traditionally were not into guns or were not known for having guns. And I'm talking about minority communities and women. There's just been this explosion of gun ownership. And we actually saw it, during the riots with the Antifa-related John Brown gun clubs and the redneck gun clubs. You now find leftists who actually are celebrating gun rights as they arm up for what they anticipate to be the coming civil war. And so there's a lot of people on the left. They're not as vocal, but you can hear the rumblings. And those people on the left are saying, hey, Joe Biden, don't take away our guns. We're on your side.
Philosophical, Brad Premo. All right. You've been overseas, dude. You fought for this country. And what Neil just mentioned was, and let's go here. Let's have this conversation. You've got people arming up on the other side who are afraid of the other. They're talking about Americans versus Americans because they don't like what they see from one side or another. You've got millions of Americans that bought guns because they didn't like what they saw with leftist, communist, Marxist, socialists masquerading as Democrats burning cities down. So what did they do? They bought guns to protect against that activity, and those people, their fellow Americans, should it happen in their own community, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, the most effective tool that human beings have developed to protect life and property is a rifle. And so when your neighbor's business is getting burned down, people are getting stopped and pulled out of their cars and beaten, all other forms of mayhem. And, of course, the police are completely overwhelmed and unable to stop it, sometimes prevented from stopping it by the very politicians who are supposed to be representing the people. It only makes sense that you want a rifle. It makes sense. It's a safety blanket, and it's a good safety blanket.
Justin, the Founding Fathers understood way back when, and all you have to do is read Federalist 28 and 29. Great read if you haven't read it, Hamilton's 28 and 29. Great stuff. But they understood that there were bad people that did bad things and that we all had a right to defend ourselves, which hence gave rise to the Second Amendment being codified in our founding documents. So they understood that this, while it was tyrannical government and everything else, they also understood the self-defense aspect of owning firearms, correct?
Well, they absolutely understood that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And that's what we're saying with a runaway. They're going to come after our guns, and they're going to get help.
When we come back, I'm going to tell you the sense of what I'm feeling and seeing out there, because I'm beginning to see some things come together. And I want to get the perspective of everybody on the panel today. Is it happening, or is it just a bunch of talk? We got both perspectives. Don't go away. I really am going to try and find Lost in Space episodes. When was the last time you saw a Lost in Space episode?
Quite a while.
With Judy and Penny. And Will. And Dr. Smith. And the robot.
I think I had to have been a kid in the 80s.
Yeah, the new one didn't do that one any justice.
I don't even think I saw the new one.
It was a yawn. Greg is yawning, folks. Greg is yawning.
My care factor for Lost in Space died many years ago. Yeah, it's been a long weekend. There's been no break for me.
John Korzynowski, excuse me, you are correct about that. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up. Let me see if I can find that real quick. All right, I got the New York Post piece on it, John. I'm going to cover that. Glad you mentioned that. Thank you. Kind of dovetails into what we're talking about here with Chicago and some other things. I laughed that off when I read it last week. And look, now it finds its way onto the Roundtable. What's our time looking like?
We're close. And 30.
This segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Don't forget to use the promo code AAR at MyPillow.com. Welcome back. Welcome back indeed to the KAHR Firearms Group studios on the Leadslingers microphone. All of it being presented to you by X Insurance. I told you in a previous hour about X, and we just heard this segment by Mike Lindell. We heard Dr. Ignatius Piazza talk about Mike Lindell and what he was up against. He said he bought about $2,000 worth of stuff. I'm not far behind him. I bought another pet bed the other day using the AAR promo code, and my dog has about 6 beds now. It's to the point where we actually call our family room Huey Village. Our dog's nickname is Huey, and it's a village with all of her pet beds in there. It's a riot. Her little toys are everywhere, and she sleeps in all of them. So, that's why we have them. She's awesome, so she has Huey Village. And they're MyPillow pet beds. Use the promo code AAR, please. Use the promo code AAR. I was also telling you about X Insurance. It's time in today's day and age to wake up and get real insurance, just like you have for everything else in your life. I'm going to challenge you to head over to xinsurance.com, and you'll scroll down. First of all, the website's very cool. You'll see everything that they cover. This is a real insurance company, not some gimmicky stuff. But when you scroll down to the bottom, you'll click on concealed carry and firearm liability, and you will see just how serious this is. And there's something in there for you. It's all you do is fill it out. Don't have to even make a phone call. Someone will call you, because you'll get a real person that works in their office that will call you and talk to you about your lifestyle and what you do, and they will build a policy for you because it's real insurance. Make sure to check that out. All right. Brad, were we going to you, Brad, next? Is that where we were going?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, here's the deal, guys. I'm beginning to sense that something is coming together here. I mentioned it in the previous hour, so I'll mention it to you. I want your perspectives on this. It's not just a bunch of talk anymore. There's been meetings at the White House. Now you're starting to see action. Now you're starting to see Chris Murphy actually put forth a bill. Sheila Jackson Lee, yeah, those bills need to be taken serious because the lunatics are in charge now. No doubt Durbin will probably listen to him, and as we heard in the previous hour, Biden will sign anything that comes to his desk, even if he doesn't know what it is, and he probably won't know what it is. But we're now beginning to see a strategy build. That's my gut feeling. What do you think about that? Are you sensing that too, Brad Premo?
No, absolutely. These people have promised us they're going to do this. I mean, when someone, threatens your way of life or threatens your personal safety or something like that, I mean, you're a fool to not take them at their word. And
you feel that sense of that. It's coming together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Again, they've been promising they're going to do it. They're not going to just sit on their hands. I think they know that they probably are going to have a hard time hanging on to both chambers of Congress in 2022. So they're gonna swing for the fences every chance they get between now and then. And gun control is going to be one of those things.
It's astonishing to me that there are people who claim to be on our side that are, attacking people like Representative Boebert. She isn't pro-gun enough.
Yes.
Or, Green. Green just put forth a bill I believe it was Friday, for gun owners' privacy in a response to Sheila Jackson Lee wanting a national gun registry. So, Justin Moon, CEO of KAHR Arms, I'm guessing you're sensing that same thing, right? You get that gut feeling?
I think that in the last presidential election, we lost our republic. I think we no longer have an elected president. We have a president who has been installed by powers who want to exploit the American population. It's very clear what happens. It's gun registration, gun confiscation, then genocide.
I mean, they laid it out. He laid out. I've read the bullet points on the program, guys, gals. I've read it to you. It's right from his site. I've covered it on. I've lost count how many other radio programs I've been a guest on where we've covered these things. The question becomes, and I know Justin agrees, I know Brad, and I know Neil does. We'll go to Neil now. But what is it about this agenda that requires you to be disarmed? It's a 100% completely legitimate question. Neil, let me go to you with something else that's, I'm going to say it's fun to talk about because it is of a level of such stupidity that it is, you almost shake your head in disbelief, except you know it's a Democrat and this is what they're capable of doing. This came to us a recommendation from John Korzeniewski on, John, I hope you said your last name right. I'm not looking at the screen. But he says, can you guys talk about this during the roundtable? So here's the New York Post piece. Activists suggest paying criminals not to kill to cut Baltimore crime rate. Take a listen to this. A convicted murderer turned community activist in Baltimore has a radical approach to combating the city's stunning murder rate. Pay criminals not to kill. Now, Neil, this comes to us from Tyree Moorhead, who was 15 years old when he was put away in prison for second-degree murder and spent 18 years behind bars. No doubt he's out because he was 15. Had he been 18, he probably would still been there where he belongs. He was convicted of murder. And he says, I can relate to the shooters. Guess what? They want money. He says, I've talked to these people. I've seen the shooters. And then the story goes on to talk about how apparently it worked in Oakland where they saw the crime rate drop. Well, apparently Baltimore isn't playing by the same rules. When you read moronic crap like this, what goes through your head, Neil?
Yeah, I'm really tired of this connection between money and crime and violence and money. You know, there are plenty of poor communities in this country and around the world that do not have the kind of violence we see in Baltimore. Baltimore is a place where there is no law and order. And basically what you have is you have gangs who are just running alternative governments because the government has ceased to function in parts of Baltimore. And so gangs on their own have become the government that doesn't exist anymore. And so it's sad when everybody just says you can just throw money at a problem. Instead of throwing money, they should start throwing people in jail and not releasing them before their sentence is up.
Well, bingo. There's the nail. There's the hammer. Hit it right on the head. Brad Premo, listen to this. A similar strategy has been used before in Richmond, California, one of the most dangerous cities in the country, which paid criminals up to $1,000 a month. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I watch Netflix and Dope and Narco. I watch this. These criminals are making a hell of a lot more money than $1,000 a month standing on street corners peddling this stuff, okay? In what world, Brad Premo, would this even stand a chance?
I don't know.
You're laughing at it, but it's a New York Post headline.
I mean, I have so many questions. Like, do I also get paid for not murdering somebody? Because I promise you I won't murder somebody if you pay me. On top of that, like, you know, isn't this kind of negotiating with terrorists? We're trying to pay people to do something they shouldn't be doing in the first place. You know, Neil hit the nail on the head. I saw it as a police officer. Our biggest challenge was the fact that we could not get rid of violent criminals. There was one guy that we had, I'll tell you this much. He was, as a juvenile, just a terror. And so when he became an adult, we thought, okay, we're going to hang a felony on him. We put too bad to get rid of him for a little while. We had him on video shooting at somebody outside the hospital emergency room, trying to kill them. Little low-scale gang war going on. He sat in jail for 9 months awaiting trial, ends up pleading guilty to attempted second-degree homicide, got released, time served, 10 years probation. This guy, every time he was free on the streets, was shooting at people, Mark. He was a suspect in at least one homicide. We could never pin it on him. And so we had to wait and get him again shooting at somebody else and actually get a firearm in his possession because now he's a convicted felon. At that point, we turned the case over to the feds. They were able to send him off to prison for 5 years. That's the only way we could get rid of him.
It's recidivism.
That was
it's just turning them out.
For the court.
It's just turning them out. Yeah, it is. It's just turning them out. It's just recidivism, one right after the other.
Yep.
Brad,
Yep,
we're getting
absolutely.
ready to take a break. When we come back, we'll go to Justin with some of this stuff as well, too, with the crime. Justin, I want to ask you, I'm going to give you a heads up, so you might want to think about this during the break. I'm going to ask you, if I offer to pay you $1,000 a month, will you promise not to murder anybody, Justin? You kick that around and think about it during the break. We'll see what Justin has to say when we come back. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a spin on this if I can find it in the computer, because I've got something funny if I can find it. I'll be back right after this. I don't think I'm going to be able to find this piece. Got to start it. This is the last segment coming up?
You know it.
Brad, I don't promise to be good for 1,000. I'll just agree not to be extra bad.
All right.
Get out of here.
We're close. And 30.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sebastian Gorka, letting you know that the Desperado Sport Fishing Crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
Welcome back inside. Final segment already, man. It's just flying right by. It always does. Fastest individual hours in radio. Let me quickly remind you, I've already knocked it out, but that's my Defender coffee mug if you're watching me on screen. If you're listening on radio stations around the country, you can support the Second Amendment by drinking coffee. You've probably heard me say that many times before. But defendercoffee.com. How do you support the Second Amendment when you're drinking a cup of coffee? First of all, my wife and I get the 5-pound bags now. We go through a lot of the stuff. I've got the Organic Liberty Roast is what it's called. You can see it all on the website. And Derek and the guys over at Defender Coffee allow you to pick and choose where you want the profits to go. I give my profits to the Second Amendment Foundation. At the end of the year, the Second Amendment Foundation gets a donation from me and everybody else who picked the profits from their coffee to go to the Second Amendment Foundation. It is a win-win. Face palm, okay? It's a no-brainer. Drink coffee, support Alan Gottlieb and the Second Amendment Foundation and all of our rights and freedoms, and they're doing a solid over there now. Here's the promo code. Usually it's AAR. You can still use it, but in this case, you can buy 3 bags and get 1 free, and the promo code is buy 3, the number 3, BUY, buy 3, get 1, the number 1 free. Buy 3, get 1 free. Buy 3, get 1 free. So make sure to do that and support those who support the program. You get great products. My Pillows, promo code AAR. All right? Crossbreed holsters, no kidding. Crossbreed holsters. Second Amendment Foundation. We're doing a promo coming up. You heard Alan in the first hour. He's going to do something special, but I'm going to be paying for myself at Armed American Radio. Grand prize winners are going to get life memberships into the Second Amendment Foundation, and Alan's going to do something special in addition to that, and we're going to be combining that with some other deals, maybe some X stuff going on. Lots of fun stuff getting ready to happen here on Armed American Radio. So make sure to support all of our sponsors. Crossbreed Holsters, Gunbroker.com. It's the Gunbroker.com studios tomorrow. North American Arms, KAHR Arms, of course. This is the KAHR Firearms Group studios, and the list goes on. All right, guys, we're back. This is the final segment. I was looking for a quote that I saw from a prisoner about crime not paying, and I couldn't find the quote in time. I apologize, but it would have dovetailed really, really well. So let me just go back to Justin. Justin, I swear, man, I'm going to give you $1,000 if you promise not to kill anybody. Would you take me? Would you take my money?
I'll take it.
You can't even say this stuff seriously with a straight face. It's so stupid.
Here's one for you, Mark. How about if we do this? Hey, if you're an armed citizen and you kill a criminal in self-defense, how about we pay you $10,000?
You know what? Doesn't that kind of happen in a weird way anyway because we don't have a trial? Sorta? Kinda?
I mean, we should pay the citizens to take criminals off the street permanently.
You know, you've got.
I think.
Well, what Brad was talking about is recidivism. It's the most frustrating thing. Every police officer I've ever spoken to, that is their number one issue. Is these guys and gals are out on the street every single day, and who are they running into every single day? The same people over and over and over again. Neil McCabe. Talk to me, Neil. Come on. How do we fix this? It shouldn't be that difficult.
I just want to say, I will not kill anybody for $100 a day. I mean, I work cheap.
Right. Okay. All right. I agree with you. I'd do it for $50.
Well, there you go.
I'll take gas money.
Yeah, this is the crazy world we're in, you know, and it just shows you how far we have gotten away from like the values and the standards and what the normal, what was normal when we were growing up is not normal anymore. And we start to question is like, wow, are we the ones who are crazy? And, you know, you see what happened, you know, when with all of the insurrection that was going on in our cities over the summer, you know, how many people are on trial right now for the assault on the Hatfield Federal Courthouse in Portland, Oregon? Like, I would say none, you know, and it's like, you know, you had the Secretary of Defense in June saying I do not support the military backing up law enforcement. And that just basically opened up a second wave of cities, with mayhem and chaos and violence. And how many hundreds of law enforcement officers attacked? And that was all considered normal. I mean, who hasn't seen the video of the guy on CNN saying that this is mostly a peaceful protest as a building is on fire behind him?
Right. Oh,
and
I know.
So,
I know.
It's like years ago we complained about a place called Benghazi. The Democrats have brought Benghazi to our cities, and it was considered normal and good, and they were almost laughing about how wonderful it was. We were told that what happened in Kenosha was democracy in action. It's like down is up and up is down, Mark.
Well, guys, let's go down is up and up is down. Let's close the show out with this disgusting story out of California. LADA Gascon. Is that his name? Is that how you pronounce his name? I don't care. Drops the death penalty for a man charged with killing a police officer. Officer Keith Boyer was killed in 2017. And this guy, Michael Christopher Maya, or whatever his name is awaiting trial. And it gets worse because this guy was an admitted gang member who killed a cop after killing his own cousin. And he was actually, this guy's a real beauty with the tattoos on his face. This guy, real tough guy. And he told the judge and the cops and everybody else that were surrounding him, "You've met a real gang member. I'm a real LA gang member. That's what I am." And he said that he was proud of what he did, and that he should have smoked the other cop sooner. And we've got a DA in Los Angeles who's dropping the death penalty on this. Let's go to you first, Brad. Before we've got just about 10 seconds apiece. We'll just go around. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I mean, we're seeing a culmination of decades of Democrats and the left trying to erode American values, and we're starting to get down kind of the pulp. And this is what we're left with, cities that are now banana republics.
Justin, the guy says, "Nope, I don't feel sorry because I know they would have dropped me. They wouldn't feel sorry for my family. I should have smoked the other one earlier."
Yeah, I mean, we've had a complete breakdown of moral values because we've walked away from any standard of absolute morality. We've walked away from the Judeo-Christian values. So what do you expect, Mark?
That right there, Justin, is your combination of Democrats and media. That's what's been at work and play. Well, and you 30. Consider, when you consider higher education, you consider what's happened in Hollywood and the breakdown where it's okay to hold up a severed head by some stupid comedian who thinks that's funny of a president. That's where we're at. Neil McCabe, thank you, man, for being here. God bless you for everything that you're doing on behalf of the country as you are maneuvering around in parts unknown. Justin Moon, CEO of Firearms, thank you, sir. How far out are we now on sales?
60.
Still?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but I don't know, you don't know what Biden's going to do tomorrow. He might make everything illegal.
Well, man, yeah, there you go. That's from the CEO of Firearms, by the way, Justin Moon. But, 8, 10, 12 months out in sales. Brad Premo, thanks, brother, for everything you've done, everything you're currently doing, and for participating in the show. Where can people get Leadslingers real quick?
You know what? We're about to add North Dakota, South Dakota, and Alaska, and I think that leaves Washington State and Hawaii as the only states we're not available in.
You know what? You can make a nice cold cocktail up in those states with some of that product. Here's the deal. Armed American Radio is going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want me to until we meet on the radio tomorrow. Thanks to all of our guests. Great program. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. Enjoy the rest of your day. We're going to see you on the radio tomorrow, guys.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
Boom, boom, boom. That's a wrap.
Wow. Incredible, man. It just flew right by, and I'm wide awake. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do tomorrow too. Gosh darn it.
That's what you get for drinking that coffee, man.
Yeah, it was only one cup. I hadn't been out of the chair in the entire time for the show. In fact, I've got just a little bit of it left because I can't do it when it gets cold like that, man.
No, I don't blame you.
Can't do it. All right, are you done? Hey, thanks for catching that, by the way.
Sure, man. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm here for.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, I've heard. Okay, I'm not even gonna go there.
It's all good.
It's all good. God bless you, dude. I'm glad you caught that. Thanks
already, man.
Thanks for doing what you do. I will see you tomorrow. You need anything from me? You're good?
I'm good if you're good, brother.
Later, man.
Later, man.
There goes Greg. He's awesome. Thank God he caught that, right? We know what happened last time that wasn't caught. Of course, it wasn't just that. But those guys, man, they got to be on their games. Tell you what, let's see. Real quick before I let you guys go. Wish I could find that quote from that prisoner. That was good. All right, who do we got here? Angeline, good night. I'll see you tomorrow, too. I see what you wrote in there. My whole family, I grew up, all my brothers, they're my brothers, I don't have any brothers, but all my cousins and aunts and uncles, I come from the Lucentes. Big Italian family. Good night. See you tomorrow, my friend. Yeah, Dubes, I'm with you on that one. It was, and you know what? It wasn't that tough at the time. It wasn't that tough, honestly. But a semi-auto slingshot. John, it was a great program tonight. All right, fun stuff today. Got to get you a. It's going to be interesting with the podcast now because the site is down, and we usually run the podcast through the back end, which I've been told not to do. So I might have to get a little bit creative, and it's probably going to have to go up there tomorrow morning, but no big deal. That just means I can have some time now to go find some Lost in Space episodes. Remember that show? I have no idea what made me think of that today. Absolutely none. Oh, and keep AWR in your thoughts tonight. He's having a procedure tomorrow. He was in a lot of pain tonight when he was on the show with us. I can promise you. So. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get in the back end of that right now. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did, and I will see you on the radio tomorrow.